Ready? I think we're ready, yeah. Good evening, everyone. I want to call the meeting to order for the Oxnard City Council in the Oxnard Housing Authority for Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. Madam Clerk, may we have the roll call and posting of the agenda, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. Councilwoman Commissioner Basua. Here. Mayor Chair MacArthur.
Here.
Councilmember Commissioner Perallo.
Here.
Councilwoman Commissioner Bettis.
Here.
Councilwoman Commissioner Rodriguez.
Present.
Councilman Commissioner Starr.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Teran.
Here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted in the kiosk at City Hall, the Oxnard Public Library, the city administrative offices, and on the city's website on Thursday, March 6th, and the amended agenda on March 12th. I also have an announcement. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54952.3, each member of the Housing Board of Commissioners present will receive $50 for convening this meeting. And Commissioner Andrade? Okay, present. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll turn it over to you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm honored to introduce tonight's student speaker who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and then share with us a little bit about herself. So we have Miss Brooke Donlin, who's a 12th grader from Oxnard High School. So I'll invite her to the podium.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brooke.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and fellow community members. My name is Brooke Donlin, and I'm honored to stand before you today as a proud student of Oxnard High School. I've spent my entire life in this city shaped by its vibrant culture, hardworking people, and the countless opportunities and challenges that have come my way. My journey has been one of resilience, determination, and an unwavering commitment to my future. As a first-generation student, I faced the uncertainty of navigating higher education without direct family guidance. My parents, who decided to work rather than pursue college, have always emphasized the importance of education. Their sacrifices inspire me to push forward, to make the most of every opportunity, and to set an example for those around me. Their hard work fuels my drive to achieve more, not just for myself, but for them and for future generations. Throughout school, I've dedicated myself to both academics and leadership, ensuring that I contribute meaningfully to my school and community. Academically, I currently stand as a valedictorian candidate with a 4.65 weighted GPA. As for extracurriculars, I currently serve as the Associated Student Body Secretary, the Vice President of both the California Scholarship Federation and National Honor Society, the Secretary of Red Cross, and the PTSA Student Representative. In addition, I've been a Link Crew leader for the past 2 years, helping to mentor and guide incoming students as they transition into high school. These roles have taught me the importance of responsibility, collaboration, and the power of leading by example. Beyond leadership, I've also been an athlete, competing in 3 sports throughout much of my high school career, including tennis, water polo, and swim. The discipline and teamwork I have learned through athletics has played a crucial role in shaping my character and work ethic, pushing me to set goals and achieve them through perseverance. Outside of school, my passion for the medical field has led me to dedicate over 100 hours of community service at St. John's Regional Medical Center, where I had the privilege of assisting nurses, doctors, and interacting with patients, gaining firsthand experience into the medical field. Additionally, I've also shadowed local doctors, allowing me to explore different medical specialties and strengthen my commitment to pursuing a career in medicine. After high school, I plan to attend a 4-year university where I will embark on the pre-med track. My ultimate goal is to earn my medical doctorate and become a physician, serving the very community that has shaped me. My journey has not been easy, but every challenge has been an opportunity for growth. Balancing academics, leadership, and sports, as well as community service, has tested me, but it has also prepared me for the future. I stand here today not just as a student, but as a representative of the countless young people in Oxnard who are striving for a brighter path. As I move forward, I'm committed to using my experiences to inspire others, especially those who, like me, are the first in their families to embark on this journey. Oxnard has given me so much, and I'm determined to give back, whether through leadership, mentorship, or a future in medicine. I want to be a force for positive change. I'm extremely excited about what lies ahead, and I thank you for your time and for allowing me to share my story. I hope to continue making a difference both now and in the years to come. Thank you.
All right, so I see Brooks making her way over here to the dais, and please have your guests join as well. All of them.
By chance, are mom and dad here? They're right here. They should be recognized.
Brooke, you want to recognize mom and dad? I know that, much like Councilmember Perillo said, these things don't happen by accident, that we have an exceptional young person like yourself, right? So certainly I think your mom and dad had something to do with it. So if you just want to introduce Brooke, your mom and dad, and as well as your principal, if that's okay?
My mom's name is Michelle Donlin, and my dad is Peter Donlin, and then my principal is Mr. Ted Lawrence.
Mr. Lawrence, you want to say a couple of things? Sure.
I've never met a microphone I didn't like, but I just wanted to thank the city council, Councilman Tehran, our mayor, and the entire city council. We have a lot to be proud of in the city of Oxnard. Our youth is powerful. There's nothing, as I tell my students all the time, that a kid from Oxnard, California cannot accomplish. She is just a shining star that shows you the unlimited potential that we have in our schools. You will remember her. She will come back to this community and serve all of you as a doctor. There is no doubt in my mind, Brooke Donlin is one of my many amazing Yellow Jackets, and I am thank you to the city of Oxnard.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. I love things like this. It almost gets me emotional because this is really good. And I do hope you come back, Brooke. And it's outstanding, the work that you're doing. Like I said, it doesn't happen by accident. So you have some exceptional parents that obviously raised a good child. And it's my absolute honor to recognize you for your dedication, perseverance, and absolutely a future leader here in our community. So this is for you, Brooke.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And we'll take some pictures.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was perfectly said by Mr. Lawrence. The next item on the agenda.
Mayor, is it okay if I
sorry.
make a
Yes.
quick comment?
Absolutely.
Thank
absolutely.
you. I just wanted to congratulate our young person from Oxnard High School. I had the privilege of having Principal Ted Lawrence as my teacher. He definitely is somebody that plants the seeds and inspires the next generation and really breeds excellence in our community, and really wanted to just thank you publicly for your work and all of the things that you do to continue to ensure that young people in this community have access to opportunities. So thank you, Principal Lawrence.
Thank you. Absolutely, Councilmember.
I think it cannot be without saying that Donlin Plumbing is a well-known and respected business in the local city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Something. Any other comments by any other council member? Okay. Absolutely, go ahead.
Mayor, I'll just close by saying, again, my thanks to Mr. and Ms. Donlin, as well as Brooke Donlin. And I told her, in the future to be Dr. Donlin. I'd love to hear those aspirations and the many great things that the young people in our city are doing. And as Mr. Lawrence said, there's nothing any young person from this city can't do or can't accomplish. And it's going to take all of us to continue to support that, to remind them that they have that potential, every single one of them. So thank you again, Mayor.
Absolutely. Thank you. We'll move to the next item in the agenda. This is ceremonial items. This is the presentation of a proclamation designating the month of March 2025 as American Red Cross And for that, I'd like to call Noah Tyler. Yeah, come on up, Noah. And this is a proclamation for American Red Cross, whereas March is American Red Cross Month, a special time to recognize the compassion of people and reaffirm our commitment to care for one another in times of crisis. And for more than a century, the American Red Cross continues to work tirelessly through its volunteers to support the community when disaster strikes, when someone needs life-saving blood, or the comfort of a helping hand. And the American Red Cross supports military families, veterans, and caregivers, saving lives and first aid, CPR, and delivering aid and reconnecting loved ones separated by global crises. And members of the Pacific Coast Chapter of the American Red Cross remain unwavering in their commitment to uplift the community in their darkest hours. In nearly 145 years since Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross, we dedicate this month of March to all those who continue to advance her noble legacy, and we ask others to join in their commitment to care of people in need. And we hereby recognize this month of March in honor of all those who lead with their hearts and serve people in need, and we ask everyone to join in this commitment to strengthen our community. It's my honor to present Noah with this proclamation. You want to say a couple things here? Oh, yeah, sure. Thanks, Noah.
Is it okay if we put this on?
Absolutely. Take a picture with it, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Have little talking points here. But thank you, Mayor MacArthur and honorable members. Oh, thank you. And honorable members of City Council. As you all know, the American Red Cross has been influential and very active recently, both with the mountain fire that struck Ventura County in our own backyard. Not only that, the Palisades fire with our neighbors over in LA County. And I just want to give you a little bit of history. We are celebrating the 81st annual Red Cross Month celebration that first started with President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1943 to recognize the amazing work of our volunteers out in the field, in the offices, supporting every single citizen of this great country, whether through disasters and blue skies, gray skies, which is disasters and non-disasters. No matter what, they are still there. You know, we can all do our part to assist each other, whether that's donating blood, whether that's supporting them through disasters. And every cent, every blood, every pint, everything counts. And that's what we're here to do as the American Red Cross, and we are honored to be here. On behalf of the American Red Cross, I thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, and just the City of Oxnard for allowing us to be in your community and just outreaching and supporting you guys as much as we can. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Noah, very much. Sorry, this one. Sorry.
Thank you again, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much. You go, Noah.
Thank you, sir.
And Councilwoman Rodriguez, you may remember when you and I went out to that fire that happened near your house. Remember?
Yes.
We went out there and the Red Cross was kind enough to immediately come out when I think a garage burned down. Right, there was a fire there and a family was displaced. So Councilwoman Rodriguez and I both came out, and so we're very thankful to the American Red Cross and immediately came out to the aid of this family that was displaced by this fire.
Yes, 3 families were displaced, 2 homes burned. And I just personally want to thank you all for the good work that you do. I know that they were able to get some emergency response the day of. So that's very impressive that you all were there, even before somebody like me who lives 5 doors down. So thank you so much for your good work. And thanks to all the volunteers who make that good work happen. So I know that you rely heavily on volunteers and on donors giving blood, time, and talent. So thank you so much.
Of course, anytime. And I myself, I'm a supervisor for those teams that actually do respond 24/7 in your community. So I can say with absolute certainty that me, my team, and the rest of the Red Cross will be there no matter what. Rain or shine, day or night, we will be there to be for you guys. Thank you.
The next proclamation is for Cesar Chavez Day. And Mr. Gomez, if you'd be so kind to come up here. So whereas Cesar Chavez was born on March 31st, 1927, on a small farm that his family homesteaded near Yuma, Arizona, and Cesar Chavez is recognized as one of our national labor leaders who was committed to improving the lives of farm workers everywhere and brought their plight to national attention. And on August 8th, 1994, Cesar Chavez posthumously received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in the United States. And in organizing workers, Cesar Chavez strictly adhered to the principles of nonviolent practices by Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. Martin Luther King. And Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers Union played an instrumental role in the passage of the California Agricultural Labor Relations Act, which was signed into law in 1975. The legislation made our state the first in the nation to give farm workers the right to speak, or the right to seek union representation, and bargain collectively within an established legal framework. And Californians of every generation and background continue to be inspired by the leadership of Cesar Chavez and his nonviolent approach to bringing about social change. And whereas activities are planned to celebrate the life and legacy of Cesar Chavez and to recognize the men and women who labor in the agricultural fields to produce the food we serve at our tables across the nation. It's my honor to proclaim March 31st, 2025 as Cesar Chavez Day. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, community. We just want to say thank you. My name is Maripaz Jacobo. I'm with the Port of Hueneme as a community outreach specialist. And coming up here today, working very closely with Mr. Javier Gomez and Mr. Miguel Rodriguez, planning this march that's coming up on Sunday, April 6th. We hope you folks can make it out there. As mentioned in the proclamation, and I think the theme for tonight's meeting is that there's a lot of inspiration, right, to continue the work with all the upcoming future generations, right, standing alongside everybody up here, council members and our team. It's very important that we keep each other accountable, but also understand that the movement takes a whole community. And so I want to thank the council, mayor, and everybody. Thank you so much for allowing us to take up time and space up here. And I want to pass it over to Mr. Gomez.
Sí se puede. Cesar Chavez believed very strongly in the yes, we can achieve greatness and make a difference in our society. This is going to be our 32nd annual celebration of the March of Cesar Chavez, recognizing his legacy, but more important for the city of Oxnard, this is the place where he started his organizing. And so we know that it's crucial for us to keep his legacy alive. Not that we celebrate the man himself, but what he did and what he accomplished and how he impacted and changed the lives. It just takes one person to make a difference. And we know that just like the young lady who spoke, she's going to make a difference, And again, the belief that Cesar Chavez has is that we must empower our youth to secure our destiny in our society, because through empowering our youth, we create a better future for all of us, because we have the prepared people to take on the leadership roles that we as elders represent, that one day we're going to be gone, and they're the ones who are going to be directing our city and ensuring the safety and dignity that we all deserve. And again, they're going to serve as role models. And so our annual Cesar Chavez Memorial March is really to recognize his legacy. And again, somebody asked me, why aren't we doing it on the 31st? Well, 31st is his birthday. But we felt that also we honor when he died. He died in the month of April. And so we wanted to be just before holy ceremonies that take place in the Catholic Church. And being Cesar Chavez being so devoted, we wanted to recognize the value that of his life and also his death and what impact he's had on all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we hope to see everyone. We'd like to invite you to the march. If you're watching at home, Oxnard is the home of champions, and like Mr. G said, there isn't a person in Oxnard that's not capable of greatness, and we know that Cesar Chavez was one of Oxnard's great residents, and so we hope that everybody comes and show their greatness at the march. Thank you. That's very well said.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may say something.
Absolutely, Councilman.
I remember that Professor Frank Barajas made a statement about the organized labor farm workers, specifically in Oxnard, how they stood upon the backs of the Japanese, Mexican, and Filipino workers before Cesar Chavez was involved. And I don't think that we should ever forget the people that we all stand on their backs and shoulders.
Mayor, if I may also make a
Absolutely.
comment. Thank you. I just
Councilwoman.
wanted to thank all of our local leaders, our advocates, our community-based organizations in the area who continue the work. I know we have a long history of the labor rights movement here in the city of Oxnard, and the work continues to ensure that our workers have the rights that they have today and that they're protected. I know many of our farm workers today still face hazardous working conditions. We've had a loss in our community during the time we had a heat wave, and so I know that there's still a long road ahead of us to get to the workers' rights and labor's rights and protections that we need in our community, and really just wanted to express gratitude for all the community-based organizations, local leaders. As was mentioned up here, you know, the history of Oxnard is grounded in organizing, in advocacy, and really proud to be able to come from a community that continues to be a lead in ensuring that we have the rights that we have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other comments? Okay. The next item on the agenda is public comments for items not on the agenda. A person may address the legislative body only on matters not appearing on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the legislative body. Speaker requests should be submitted as set forth on the first page of this agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. After 30 minutes, if all speakers have not had the opportunity to speak, the remaining speakers will be given an opportunity to speak prior to the adjournment of this meeting. The legislative body cannot enter into a detailed discussion or take action on any items presented during public comments. Such items may be referred to the city manager for administrative action or scheduled on a subsequent agenda for discussion. Persons wishing to speak on public hearing items should do so at this time of the hearing. And we will start with Mr. Mario Riley Sr. And Mr. Riley, you'll be followed by Isaac Morales.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm just going to finish the points I was trying to make last time.
Yes, sir.
And I'm looking at the clock. Reference the recall, supposed recall for Councilman Starr. The other point I want to make out is that Councilman Starr has already been a very positive assistance to those of us in the Rio Lindo area and other areas. So I don't believe that having that kind of backup is somebody would necessarily want to try and pull some kind of recall effort for him. The other thing too is that I understand that I know that council members and you all deserve the compensation and the benefits you receive in this capacity. I just want to point out Councilman Starr does not receive any of those. He chose not to, which underscores his the importance in his heart to this community and to these citizens. Lastly, I just want to make sure that it's understood that if such a recall is initiated, there's already been developing opposition to that. And so if that does decide to transpire, regardless from whom, the opposition will be quick and effective. And so hopefully we won't have to deal with any of that. And I thank you so much for giving me the time. But I really think it's important. if the same kind of scenario would happen to any of the rest of you, we would probably do the same thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Isaac Morales? And Isaac, you're going to be followed by Pascual Amador.
Good evening, council and community. While I make this statement, I am currently very weak due to my immune system attacking itself, so please bear with me. This statement is intended to inform the city and police department regarding Alvaro Tony Miranda, a safety officer and coach with El Rio Little League. It falls within jurisdiction as this statement is made in hopes of imploring Oxnard PD to launch a full investigation into him regarding his involvement with the children of the league. He has a history of committing various forms of misconduct, including domestic violence, family violence, intimate partner violence, street violence, child abuse, animal and pet abuse, DUI, and DWI. Furthermore, he has been under investigation by police and social services and summoned to Ventura County Court on multiple occasions for these matters. In conversation with Mayor MacArthur, a former police commander, it was agreed that Mr. Miranda's history and current involvement in the El Rio Little League merit thorough examination to ensure the safety of children and families involved. I have also witnessed other coaches and league staff partake in similar misconduct. It is important to note that I know this because Mr. Miranda is my former stepfather, and one of those children in whom he abused was me. The court granted me a domestic violence restraining order against him about a year back, and I am deeply concerned about his ongoing role within a children's baseball league. I urge the city to encourage OPD to take swift action and look into the matter of allowing someone with Mr. Miranda's history continuing his involvement in a youth sports league. I would also like to mention the fact that El Rio Little League has covered up for Mr. Miranda's behavior and blocked me on all social media platforms for speaking out about this. We need to do better for the children and youth of our communities. I hope that this also highlights the immense, undeniable bias and prejudice that male survivors, whether young boys or adult men, often face within police, governmental and judicial institutions, and society in general when coming forward about abuse. I believe another large example of this would be the hesitation that survivors of the Boy Scout scandals and church scandals have experienced in coming forward throughout the years. In closing, I would like to share a quote by Lyle and Eric Menendez's former attorney, the Honorable Leslie Abramson. Boys are not supposed to be the victims, but sometimes they are, and you must not blame the victim. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. Pascual Amador. And following Pascual is Teresa Kleeman. Buenas tardes.
Good evening, council members, and good evening, Mayor. I'm Pascual Amador. I've been living in Oxnard for 30 years. And I feel really proud of being a member of the community. I live right now at El Rio. And I'm very happy with what the city has done at El Rio. The streets have improved a lot. But I live on Balboa Street. And currently it's very difficult for me to be able to exit the street, mainly onto Ventura Boulevard. It's become like a part of the 101 freeway. It's really hard to be able to exit Alvarado Street and also Balboa and Cortez, because the traffic from where they sell the cars is really heavy. The auto center. All the way the traffic from there to Target. And the city has put some speed bumps by Santa Clara Church. but they haven't put any northbound. And we already had a traffic accident involving a little kid on a bicycle on Alvarado. And now, you know, they're set on putting sidewalks. But there's nothing from Alvarado to Vineyard. And so it becomes really dangerous to be able to exit that way. I would like you to put a stop sign or a traffic light or something. But please send someone there to research. Because I know Ventura Boulevard is part of Oxnard. And the city of Ventura, rather, the county of Ventura is not doing anything because we're like surrounded, like in sort of a bubble. So thank you for listening to me. I hope you'll be able to do something about it. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, señor Amador. Muchas gracias. Teresa? And then Teresa is going to be followed by Arlene Carter.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have many requests from residents all over who would like me to speak for them, and maybe we could have a liaison for residents. That's just a suggestion, or you could tell me how to get those requests to you. But tonight, I'd like to have one request from the Tierra Vista residents, and that is about the housing going up in the cemetery. And that housing complex, which is, I believe it's called the Dolores Huerte. Yeah. And although it's a great name and it's a great, intended for great uses of our field workers and our veterans, which I'm all for. And most people are for. But nobody wants to live in a cemetery. And there's no parking whatsoever for them. It's on a busy highway. It's right next to the school. And it's disrespectful. It's too high there. And it's towering over those residents that are already there. And those Tierra Vista people don't have a park. So it's just unfavorable all the way around. I'm not laying blame on anybody, but please, that's just not a good idea whatsoever. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Teresa. Ms. Carter? And Ms. Pat Brown, you're after Ms. Carter.
Thank you for allowing me to speak, and I want to thank everyone, city workers or everyone. It's not an easy job, so I thank you for being here and listening to us. One problem I have is, it's not a problem, I think it's Oxnard. The post office on C Street, the traffic is horrible. There's no P.O. box out there where you could put your mail in, and there's going to be a major accident because they're coming in both ways. There's no place to park. You have to park at the other building across, and you got to come in if you got a wheelchair or walkers. It's really dangerous, and I think someone needs to address that because I love that post office, but now you can come in any kind of way, and there's no signs, there's no stops or anyone telling you where to go. So it's double parked for handicapped people getting out, so it's really dangerous. And so I just wanted to bring that up. And the next thing is, I'm really concerned about our homelessness in Oxnard. I don't think any woman should be on the street at night, and I want to work with someone that's interested in helping. I've been to Department of Housing. I've been to the homeless shelters, I've been to Mercy House, I see their work, but they do need help, and I think it's a community. It's not one person that can do it, government can't do it, it's the community have to do it. And we're not divided, we want to be united. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Ms. Pat Brown? Ms. Brown? Yeah. And then Diego Magaña follows Mrs. Brown. Diego Magaña?
I have a slight hearing loss, and I can't hear most everything that goes on in here. I'm just watching it. If I was at home, I could turn up the TV and up loud enough I could hear it. But this, everybody whispers in here as far as I'm concerned. I had this problem. I would say for the last maybe 5-6 years, it's been going on every day. I live in the Royal Palms Mobile Home Park, and I am supposed to be the person in charge of the neighborhood, but nobody wants to come to any meetings. So it just leaves me. Anyway, they all complain, and the neighbors across from us, across the street, complain as well. We have trash, leftovers, bits and pieces of paper, wrapping, gum wrappers, candy, all kinds of junk that's left in the alleyway just in front of the Royal Palms Mobile Home Park, between there and the empty used car lots that are right in front of us, and then Oxnard Boulevard. So from Oxnard Boulevard, they see all of this mess. It happens almost every day. This has been going on for years, and I've just been putting up with it and hearing all the complaints from the neighborhood, but can't do a dang thing about it. Now, they'll do it at night a lot of times, and it's fine in the afternoon, and by the next morning, it's covered again. I have seen people go out and pick up everything and put it in a plastic bag. But the next morning when I go out, the bag is gone and all the trash is right there exactly where it was before. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. I saw this cleaned up during the night, and now it's all back there again. And the big trash bag has disappeared. Now, something has to be done about this. Somebody has to, from the city, has to go by there at least twice a day and check it out to make sure that everything is cleaned up, and that all the graffiti they put on the back of all the walls of the buildings, huge graffiti all over the place. It's everywhere. And it will get it all cleaned up, and in a few days, they're back doing it again.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
I need help. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Diego Magaña? And Mr. Greg Runyon, you're after Mr. Magaña.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Diego Magaña, and I'm the founder and president and executive director of Mini Nature Reserve, which is a combination of the words miniature and nature reserve. And our mission is to restore nature in the city. We do this by growing locally native plants with volunteers and then planting them out in publicly accessible spaces like parkways with the help of volunteers. These gardens are community-led, initiated, and maintained. And when they're mature, we harvest them and use them in workshops led by Chumash women. Guerrilla gardening has been the main mode of us accomplishing this. And if you don't know what that is, that means we garden without permission. It's taking matters into your own hands and not asking permission from the government to improve the lives of you and your community. And we have grown tremendously using that model. We have over 1,000 registered volunteers. And this planting season, we've had an average attendance of 38 people. And we've garnered the attention and the support of Patagonia, the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden, Agromin, the California Conservation Corps, and the City of Santa Barbara, among others. And while guerrilla gardening will always be a part of what we do and promote, after 3 years of doing this and doing it in the real world and facing problems like gophers and people ripping out plants and stuff, it's clear to us that if we want to truly accomplish our mission of restoring nature in the city, we have to work with the city. So I acknowledge all the work that the city has done over the years. I've seen the irrigation line, and I thank you for also cooperating with the urban greening grant, and we got it, so thank you. But I'd like to ask that we establish a more formal relationship going forward. To me, this can mean collaboration on grants, or even just direct communication, maybe more strategic partnerships with City Core. And I'm also happy to announce that moving forward, I'm going to be partnering with a world-renowned landscaper and also working to get my own landscaping license as well. We believe that the city landscape should be more than just decorative. We believe it should be a part of residents' daily lives. And through the potential partnership with the city, we hope that we can improve the quality of life for all residents in a manner that does not strain parks maintenance staff or city budget. And if you're interested in continuing this conversation, please reach out to me. At the back of this pamphlet that you received, there's an email, and there's some examples of our work. And yeah, I'd love to maybe walk with you, talk with you, show you the garden, show you the nursery. Thank you for listening to me tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
For the benefit of the public, could you let everyone know what your phone number is if they want to reach you, if you're willing to give that out?
Oh, sure. It's 805-816-8732.
Thank you. And why don't you give people your email address as well, since not everybody has a pamphlet in front of them.
Sure. It's info@mininature.org.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. Greg Runyon?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Aaron, I thought you were going to give him your home address so he could guerrilla garden for you, but that's good enough. I think that I made some comments last council meeting, and I'm very big on language, and I was frustrated in regards to just some of the things that are said about people that we disagree with. And in saying it, I want to give Mr. Molina a lot of credit, because he asked me to meet with me and asked me to clarify, and I want to make it very clear. I was not talking about him. And you know, there are people that we attack because we don't agree with them. And then there are people that we refrain from attacking because they agree with us. And, you know, I would hope that in life we would all try to be as equitable as we can, that when we see something that's not correct, we do what we can to solve it, that we don't minimize it, that we don't act like it's not there. In saying that, in public service, we don't always get to pick who we work with. And I want to say this very quickly, because I want to wrap this up, but I had the pleasure of meeting Cesar Chavez when I was 13. He went to my birthday party that we had in San Jose, and it was a long story, but he was there. And he actually said something to me. He said, you know, you can't tell the character of a man by the color of their skin. It's by the content of their heart. And we all ought to try to live by that. We ought to look at people's hearts. And in saying that, to go back to Mr. Molina, I don't believe for a second that he meant to offend anyone, and I have said that. I also believe that people were offended, and that has been stated. Now that I've said that, y'all are going to have to figure something out, because if we're going to live with the parameters that have been set, he has a job to do. And I hope that you as a council and as the governance will sit back and do what you can to assist him to do that job. Because for the citizens of our great city, we deserve to know where money is and where it's going. You all can figure that out, but I wanted to clarify my comments that I was not attacking Mr. Molina in any way. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Runyon.
Mayor, it looks like we have one virtual caller.
Okay.
Caller ending in 4018. Please press *6 to unmute. You have 3 minutes starting now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello. Oh, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, staff, and the public. My name is Douglas Bartello. I'm a 38-year resident of Oxnard, and I just wanted to share with you, Mr. Mayor, and the council, something positive that happened. I so often get up and come before the council and ask questions. And unfortunately, rarely do I get a follow-up or those questions answered. Now, in the past, on occasions, when Tim Flynn was the mayor, if the appropriate staff person was there or somebody could quickly answer the question, he pointed to them and my question was answered, which I really appreciated. So something great happened that I've been asking this question for some time about reporting on the 311 app, which I support fully. I think everyone in Oxnard should have the 311 app and use it. And I'm a frequent user of the app, and I'm a big proponent of that means to communicate to the city when there's problems. So one of the problems we have in the Cabrillo neighborhood where I live, there's a lot of illegal dumping. So there's a lot of illegal dumping on Doris, on Patterson, on Teal Club. I've been involved in a number of cleanups. So one of the issues with the software program was you couldn't put in an address on Patterson between Gonzales and Doris, and on Doris between Ventura Road and Patterson because there are no homes there. There are no street addresses. There's just like a retaining wall, the public space landscaping, the sidewalk, the parkway. And so you couldn't enter that. So I brought this up again. I brought it up a couple years before, and I actually addressed it directly to Councilman Gabe Turan, and he said he'd work on it, but then there was no follow-up. So in this case, there actually was some follow-up. So Councilman Aaron Starr contacted me and followed up and kind of wanted to know exactly what the issue was. And then shortly thereafter, I got an email from a gentleman, Ryan Bosley, who's a GIS analyst for the IT department. And so Ryan did an excellent job. He really identified what my issue was, and he thought he had corrected it on Patterson, and he actually asked me to go on the site and see if he actually did correct it. And it worked. It was great. And then I went on Doris and tried to do the same thing, and I couldn't. So it was the same problem. So I followed up with Ryan. Ryan followed back up with me. He addressed the issue and got it done. And in my view, you know, that's the way government should work. And I just really take issue with a lot of this talk about recall of Aaron Starr and a lot of the nonsense that kind of goes on because it's a kind of contentious relationship. I get that. But when government works, no matter whether it's you, Mr. Mayor, whether it's Representative, you know, Aaron Starr or Bert Perillo, whoever it is, we should all feel as residents that we can go to you as a legislative body with our issues, with our concerns,
Thank
and,
you, Mr.
and
Portillo.
get that solved. So that's where
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Portillo. We're out of time. Thanks for calling in. Madam Clerk, are there any other speakers?
Mayor, that concludes our speakers, both in person and virtually. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item G. This is a report for the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one quick announcement at this meeting, and that is Diego's going to bring up the slide. There's going to be yet another informational town hall meeting about the proposed Teal Club project. However, this will be a virtual meeting, so hopefully this will capture people who were not able to make various prior meetings in person. This is being hosted by the Mayor Pro Tem Tehran and Councilmember Perrello. The purpose is simply to provide yet another opportunity for people to ask questions of the developers and hopefully get their questions answered. Additionally, this will be recorded and then rebroadcast for other people to see at their convenience. So it is scheduled at 5:30 p.m. on Thursday, March 27th. So that's a week from this Thursday. This information is available on the city's website. And there's a Zoom link to get there. It's the traditional www.bit.ly, that's a capital L/Teal Club. You can also submit questions ahead of time if you already have your questions. So that's a quick announcement. Again, it is a virtual meeting. Thursday, March 27th, begins at 5:30 p.m. It's a webinar. It'll be recorded, and then we'll be able to rebroadcast it. The developers have done multiple in-person meetings throughout the communities, but here's another opportunity that is hopefully a little bit more convenient for some people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. The next item of the agenda is item H. At this time, a member of the legislative body may make a brief announcement or make a brief report of his or her activities. Do any council members have any announcements or anything to report? We'll start with Councilwoman Perez. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, for the recognition. Just want to share a couple of items from my report. I've had the opportunity to meet on a regular basis with our local organization CAUSE on a variety of issues, whether it be housing. I've met with their climate team to focus heavily on addressing the needs regarding Helico, the Superfund site. I also wanted to take the moment to thank Adam Smith for an introduction between the EPA to continue the work around ensuring that there is a cleanup for the Helico Superfund site. I've also had the opportunity, I know it was expressed tonight around homelessness in the area. I know District 6, that is an area in which we are doing our best to support our homeless population there. And by doing so, I participated in a ride-along to really understand what the concerns and the needs are of our homeless population. And I'll also be scheduling a time to participate in our backpack medicine outreach program, which is a variety of different local health providers, doctors, physicians, who offer people experiencing homelessness with housing, mental health, and basic needs support. So if anybody wants to be connected, feel free to reach out to me at michaela.perez@oxnard.org to really continue the work around supporting our homeless population in the area. I, along with Councilmember Rodriguez, also attended the Oxnard Fire Department's award recognition ceremony. Definitely wanted to congratulate all of the awardees and all of our workers in the community who continue to ensure that our community members have the resources and safety needed, especially during our natural disasters and the fires that we've seen throughout our community. This past weekend, I also had the opportunity to catch the first pitch at the Mermaids softball opening ceremony in District 6, and want to wish all of the softball players a great softball season. Just a little bit about me before pursuing my educational endeavors. It was really my time as an athlete that has shaped me to where I am today, whether it is being dedicated, motivated, and inspired to continue to do good work in the community. So really want to applaud the coaches and the leaders in our athletic realms who continue to ensure that our young people in our community have access to recreational opportunities. And just a couple of updates regarding our neighborhood councils. On Wednesday, April 3rd at 6 p.m., the Blackstock North and South Neighborhood Council will be meeting at the South Oxnard Center, located at 200 East Bard Street. And the last thing I'll say is, as I've continued to have conversations with many neighborhood councils regarding the needs of our community, I have also spent some time driving throughout the different neighborhoods in District 6 to report potholes and other concerns on 311. As mentioned earlier, 311 is a really great app to ensure that we're addressing the needs of our community, whether it is graffiti, potholes, littering in the area. It's a pretty user-friendly app definitely encourage folks in the community to install the app on your phone so that we can ensure that we address many of the needs in real time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Perez. Yes, sir, Councilmember Perlow.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank the diversity of public comments that we had tonight. Just in activities that I've been involved in, myself and Mayor Pro Tem Tehran attended the Oxnard Airport, Ventura Camarillo Airport meeting. I had the opportunity to attend the Ventura County Organization of Governments with alternate Aaron Starr. This morning, the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Association Fiscal Committee. With some of the public comments that were addressed tonight, I'd like to make a couple of statements on this. The individual that brought the issues up about Balboa Street, El Rio, I know from history knowledge about an organization called the El Rio MAC, Municipal Advisory Council. It comes underneath Ventura County. They oversee that. Ventura Boulevard portions are Oxnard, I believe. But the El Rio MAC and the supervisor that represents that area is the person that needs to be brought to the attention. I seriously appreciate the gentleman coming to the public comment with the translator, and I really appreciate the fact that there is an opportunity for the same to happen at the Ventura County Board of Supervisors. I hope he takes advantage of that. The El Rio MAC was formed years ago for the El Rio 9 acres issue, which was, as the gentleman said, surrounded. There is an area, the entire area is in the county of Ventura. The other issue with respect to someone that called out backgrounds of coaches, I feel very fortunate that the City of Oxnard Parks and Rec, anything that deals with a coach, there's a background check. I cannot speak for other organizations. I hope the other organizations heard the gentleman bringing up those issues. There'll be a couple of issues I'll address later on other issues, but the issue with respect to the speed bumps on Ventura Road, I know that the former Mayor Pro Tem McDonald was instrumental in trying to get, because of the complaints from the Santa Clara Catholic Church, and basically we couldn't prove it, but in my opinion, having grown up in the area, the drunks that could never make the curve plowed into the cement K-rails, took out the fence, and so speed bumps were put, has made a tremendous difference. I drive by the area frequently. I've seen fewer K-rails knocked over. As far as putting speed bumps on the other things, and technically they're not speed bumps. I think they're called ripple strips to draw the attention of people that are coming too fast, no matter how big a sign, how big the flashing lights are. If you've had too much juice in your system, you're not going to make the turn. That's just a problem in our community. The other thing is, with respect to a recall, the one councilman that's sitting up here, along with 3 others, went through a recall. We all survived. A tremendous expense to the city, a tremendous expense to the individuals, and nothing I would wish on anyone else. I just needed to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Perlow. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Just some quick updates here. As was mentioned, Councilmember Perlow and I attended this month's Airport Authority meeting for Oxnard, which we represent, along with Supervisors Lopez and Long, as well as a member of the public, Ms. Barbara Filkins, and co-located and co-meeting with the Camarillo Airport Authority. One quick announcement, and some folks may have already noticed this, but a local skydiving business has located at the Oxnard Airport, or is looking to, and is testing their process of having jumpers jump out of a plane and land in a very specific area on the airport grounds, just north of the runway, but they're going to change it to south of the runway. Those tests were successful. So if folks see if you're driving along Victoria or driving along Ventura Road near the airport, you may see people parachuting. That is a commercial activity that is happening from that business. So try not to be distracted by it or alarmed by it. Just know that that's occurring. And they did share at the Airport Authority meeting the number of safeguards that are in place because of the airplane traffic and those who are parachuting. I made the comment that, if there's a worry that people will be distracted by people parachuting in the sky, perhaps the drivers will look up from their phones and see the people in the sky. So maybe there's some pros and cons to that. So there is that. On Friday, this Friday at 9 a.m., the Beach Erosion Authority for Clean Oceans and Nourishment, or the Beacon group, will be meeting. There are a number of ways to participate in that for this particular meeting. I am seated on there as a member, and Councilwoman Perez is an alternate. You can attend in person at Carpinteria City Hall, which is at 5775 Carpinteria Avenue in Carpinteria. Or you can join here at Oxnard City Council in council chambers. We'll be in the closed session chambers, participating virtually. And just as Councilwoman Rodriguez is participating virtually this evening, members of the public are welcome to join in person if they'd like to attend here at Oxnard. But other areas are the Ventura County Government Center on the fourth floor in one of their conference rooms, and then at the County of Santa Barbara Betaravia Government Center, and that's in Santa Maria. So 4 different locations in person for the public to participate. And I also attended the grand opening for the Mathnasium, which is a tutoring center that focuses specifically in math and has a number of strategies they use to help young people who participate in different ways to learn math. And it was great to be there. It opened at the Esplanade next to Gold's Gym. And it was great hearing from the parents and students who are participating in that, as well as the couple who invested in Oxnard, moved here from the Philippines just a few years ago, and decided to start a business here after a number of years in the private sector doing other work, but decided to start a math tutoring center. And it occurred to me as I was there talking with folks and listening that I actually was not great at math in school, all the way through school. It wasn't until I was in college and an instructor explained to me that I just learned differently from other people on math, and I needed to look at it differently, and that clicked for me. And I hope young people are getting that earlier than I did by getting help with these types of organizations. And I thank the mayor for giving me the opportunity to present their certificate and speak a little bit at that grand opening. And it was on Pi Day. Yes, that's when they opened. That was intentional. And I also made it clear to the adults in attendance that they had to calculate the surface area of their pizza slices before they were able to get pizza, and then explain that to their kids. So one last thing, and this is just direction for staff. Councilwoman Perez and I have been working together on developing something that I've been thinking about a lot. Wasn't sure kind of how to find the bandwidth to do it, but with her wealth of experience as well, we've looked at developing an Oxnard Youth Academy, and we have a lot of the skeleton already fleshed out, and really some great ideas on how we can have this implemented. And I've talked with the city manager, but I would like to ask staff to continue to carry that ball forward to see what we can do to continue to add another opportunity for young people to be able to thrive or find things that interest them here in the city of Oxnard. And this can be a conduit to other youth opportunities that the city or other organizations offer. So just like to ask that of staff. And thank you, Councilwoman Perez, for inviting me to join you and say, hey, that's something I've thought about. And so looking forward to seeing how we can make this happen. So those are my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
So, no, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for sharing that with us. We'll move to the right, Councilmember Starr.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I attended the Association of Water Agencies meeting on the 6th. I'll be attending another one this Thursday. I had a really interesting meeting with Carrie Roscoe and Maria Elena Saldana, I think I pronounced that correctly, of the Carnegie Art Cornerstones and Save Oxnard's Art Committee to discuss Oxnard's permanent art collection and the Carnegie Art Museum. Both ladies seemed very enthusiastic about the arts and trying to figure out a way to make the exhibits at the Carnegie once again available to people. I'm My hope is that somehow we can find a way to support their efforts in a way that does not involve a subsidy by the city, because I don't really like subsidies. But I do think that there may be ways to work in a nonprofit setting to try and see if this artwork could be exhibited to the public again. I attended the East Village Neighborhood Council meeting last week. It was a great attendance, and both the chair and the vice chair are doing a really great job of running it. I attended with Bert Perello the Ventura Council of Governments meeting, and I appreciate he had some really good questions, and I appreciate that he was asking them. I think he's sticking up for all of us here in Oxnard. Later this week, I'll be attending the Rio Linda Neighborhood Council meeting. That will be this Thursday night. Earlier, one of the council members mentioned the speed humps on Ventura Boulevard, which I guess technically they're called rumble sticks.
Transverse rumble sticks.
Yeah, something like that. And I did have an interesting question from somebody in the Rio Linda neighborhood, because they've been wanting speed humps, but apparently there's certain standards that you need to meet in order for that to be placed, and sometimes they're pretty rigorous, but there may not be the same arduous standards to put in rumble sticks. So I don't know whether one can put rumble sticks on a neighborhood street. I don't even know if it's a desirable thing to do. Maybe it creates noise. I do not know. But I think it's worth looking into if speed humps are a problem. I had one gentleman talk to me, and I'm surprised I didn't think of this myself, but he was mentioning the traffic signal at the corner of Camino del Sol and Rice. And what's unusual about that intersection is that it has a left turn, a yellow blinking left turn signal, which means that if it's possible, you have to yield oncoming traffic, but otherwise you're able to make a left turn. And I actually use that every day to get to work because it speeds things up dramatically. And I'm wondering whether there's been any communications in the city about perhaps having that type of traffic signal at other intersections, if it would actually improve the flow of traffic in the city. I don't know how expensive these are. I don't know why Camino del Sol and Rice happen to get this, but others don't. But I, for one, appreciate it, and I hope that we could look into that. There are some tours being organized for council members regarding the AWPF and also, I believe, other water-oriented facilities. I did ask if a member of the public could attend, and I was told not this particular member of the public, because I used to work for the city 15 years ago, which I thought was kind of strange. Later, I was told that, well, actually, no member of the public is allowed to be on a tour that is organized for council members. But I do recall there was times in the past, it's been a few years, that we did have tours of the water and wastewater facilities, and to, number one, show how in disrepair they were in some cases. And I would like to know if we could have such tours again. And I guess I'd like to ask the city manager if he has any objection to me having a member of the public with me on a tour on that's scheduled for April 18th with, I believe, me and one other council member. If there is some objection because there's some special information that can't be released to the public, I'm wondering if there are other opportunities that could be arranged for a member of the public to tour the facilities, of course, guided.
We can consider that.
Great. And I think that covers everything for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Starr. Councilwoman Basua?
I've got nothing to report.
Wonderful. Thank you. Commissioner Andrade? Nothing? Okay. Just for me. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry.
Member
I'm sorry.
Rodriguez. It's okay. No worries. Really quick. I'll keep it short and sweet.
Yeah.
Don't be.
No, go ahead.
So, hi, everybody. Just as a reminder, we will have our office hours at the library with Councilmember Rodriguez. I appreciate everybody who has come out, and I look forward to April 5th, the day before the Cesar Chavez March. So please join me at the library, 11 to 1 p.m. I also wanted to share this month, I attended the Gold Coast Transit Center. I'm one of the directors representing the city of Oxnard. And one of the things that I forgot to share the last time that we had our meeting was that in our bus stops and our major routes, we're going to start having the real-time, like the marquees that tell you how far your bus is. So like, bus line 17, for example, and I'm throwing a name out there. Don't quote me on it just yet. It's only 3 minutes away or 5 minutes away. So I think that's going to be very helpful for our users on the bus transportation. I also attended the award recognition ceremony like Councilmember Perez shared. It was at Oxnard College just last week, and I'm very proud and excited about all of the good work that happens. So thank you all for your service. For those folks from the fire department getting promoted or retiring. And last but not least, I want to share that we have District 4 Town Hall meeting happening. And I want to thank our district, just our regional chair, for their efforts. I know he has attended my office hours and has been very helpful with just some of the historical content. It's going to be through Zoom, so that town hall meeting is going to happen at 6 p.m. tomorrow. I will do my best if I have landed because I'm coming back from DC. And the Zoom info number is 872-2585-0910. There is a passcode 1234. So if anybody wants to participate, it should be convenient for folks to log in. And yeah, we're at your service. So feel free to reach out to Councilwoman Rodriguez with any of the concerns. I really am appreciating the rich conversation happening right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Rodriguez. And I think Mayor Pro Tem had a question or a comment?
Not to get into extended discussion, just for clarity, and this Councilmember Starr on the statement that members of the public don't go to tours with council members. Was that an email you received?
Yes,
Okay.
I received an email saying that a Mr. Moreno he could come to a tour once the city found out that Mr. Moreno was a city employee 15 years ago. In consultation with the attorney's office and with HR, they said that he was uninvited. And I later asked.
And sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead if you have a follow-up.
It was stated in that email that members of the public don't go to tours with council members, as you had stated earlier?
What I had was an email from the city attorney that said that it was correcting that I had some misinformation, that it wasn't that a particular former city employee couldn't attend. It's just that no member of the public could attend because this is only for council members. So it just seems strange to me because I know we've had public tours in the past, and I don't understand why a member of the public can't attend just because they happen to have been a city employee at one time.
Okay, thank you. I didn't want to get into extended discussion, just wanted those basic details. Thank you for the info.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And just for me, just to wrap up, as many of you know, I'm an advocate for entrepreneurship, and just because of the financial contribution, the economics they provide to our city, contributing to the social fabric, just the character of our city, small businesses do. So I have had the pleasure of attending several grand openings supporting them. Thank you for going out to the last one, Methanasium, Mayor Pro Tem. And then lastly, too, I know Councilwoman Perez and I divided our time. She went to the Mermaids grand opening, and I went to Sunset Little League. I think many of us up here, I'm certainly a big proponent of sports just because of the contributions that sports make to our community for young people, not only for focus, concentration, and just overall health, but sports create a family atmosphere for the members, for the parents, for the coaches, for birthday parties. And coming from policing, that's so important because these young people will know each other when they get into grade school, middle school, and high school, et cetera. And they would have formed good, strong relationships. So that contributes to their absence of, or they shy away from delinquency just because of the strong bonds they created with their players and also against other teams. So I will always support youth sports. So thank you for that. If no one else has any other comments, yes, Councilman.
Sure, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Oh, yes, Councilwoman Rodriguez.
I apologize. I think you were calling somebody else, but I just wanted to share with everybody that I received my response from the FPPC in regards to me being able to participate in discussions for the OPAC. First and foremost, I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Teran for his support when I was not able to engage in these conversations. He helped me engage with several community members who had specific questions, but I am cleared and I can participate in those conversations as it does not change the value of my home or anything along those lines. So I've been cleared and I have a letter from the FPPCs that says I can participate moving forward.
Wonderful. Thank you for letting us know. Councilmember Perello?
Thank you, Councilmember Rodriguez, for sharing the information about the FPPC, which I gave you information quite a while ago. If you needed to make sure you do that, it's the gold ticket. I'd just like to follow a comment on the Mayor Pro Tem asked Mr. Starr, and I had a discussion with Mr. Starr. The individual in question that wanted to be taken, there is apparently a history of some litigation. That is why that individual is questioned Mr. Starr. And I think I told you that at that meeting. Taking a moment, Mayor, if the residents want to see some progress being made by the County of Ventura with financial multi-million dollars being contributed by the City of Oxnard on Ventura Road between Wagon Wheel Road and Stone Creek, that's going to protect 6,000 homes on the north end. They can see some work that's being done on the levee. And as a follow-up, a little bit more expansion of the information Mayor Pro Tem gave about the parachuting. At the Airport Authority, they informed us that it will be a tandem. It's going to be a professional skydiver with a novice strapped to them, and they jump out of a plane over the ocean. Then they fly over to land on the site at the airport during the trials. And it is absolutely correct. There's supposed to be very tremendous amounts of notice to the airplane flyers so that nobody hits anything. It is a concern because it's an area in my district, and I'm sure there are people that are very concerned if there's an accident, where are they going to land? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yes, City Manager.
I understand these are trial jumps, but the first official one will be with the mayor.
Thank you.
With the parachute.
With the parachute. So if there are no further comments, we'll move to review the consent agenda. Do any council members have any consent agenda they want to discuss, or any item they want to pull? Go ahead, Councilmember Starr.
I don't think I need to do number one, but I think number two would be something I'd like to discuss. And hold on. I think that's really all for the information consent calendar. I don't really need to speak on one. I think two would be fine.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments on any agenda item?
Mayor, we do not have any public comments virtually or in person. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll just move to number two. It's from the Finance Department. The monthly report and accounting of all receipts, disbursements, and fund balances for the months of August through December 2024 and January 2025. The recommendation is that the City Council receive and file this report in accounting of all receipts, disbursements, and fund balances for the months of August through December 2024 and January 2025. This item, just to know, did not originate in committee. I know we have Javier up here. Councilmember Sarge, do you have any specific questions of Javier?
Some questions and comments. I think the last time we had a report like this was back in October, and for the month of July. And it took a really long time to get to the point where we can resume this. It wasn't really clear to me what the holdup was. We had a court order requiring us to do it. And I had mentioned in the recent past that we haven't been receiving these, and I finally got to the point where our attorney filed a motion to enforce the judgment. And once that was announced that it was going to happen, it was within hours later that this was placed on the agenda. I will point out that, I guess this also violates our sunshine ordinance, but let's leave that aside. So I don't know whether we're even supposed to consider this item of business right now, given that we haven't given notice to the public. I guess you could argue that it's because of a court order that one should do it, but we've had that court order for a long time, so I don't know. Okay.
We can get some clarity from our city attorney as well on that.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ken Roselle, Chief Assistant City Attorney. The city has a very different take on this matter. So this is important for the public and for the council to understand the history here. So the lawsuit that Mr. Starr talked about is entitled Moving Oxnard Forward versus Troop. It was filed on July 18th of 2018 by Moving Oxnard Forward, and Mr. Starr verified that lawsuit. And this was related to the monthly 41004 reports. This case was not actively prosecuted for years, and the trial court did not reach its final decision until February 26 of 2024. And this matter, the order granting the writ of mandate was filed just under a year ago on April 29th of 2024. So under the terms of this order, let me just lay these out. The Chief Financial Officer is required to submit a written report and accounting of all receipts, disbursements, and fund balances. And then at least once a month, the CFO is to file with the City Council a report and accounting of all receipts, disbursement, and fund balances. And then this report is supposed to be placed on the agenda. So after the trial court entered its judgment, the next day, the city complied with that order by placing the monthly reports on the agenda. And that occurred on April 30th, 2024. In the meantime, however, City Treasurer Phil Molina had filed a lawsuit against the city. And because the other case took so long, the Molina case and the Moving Oxnard Forward case kind of passed like ships in the night. So Mr. Molina filed his lawsuit while the Moving Oxnard Forward case was not moving forward. And that was filed on June 2nd, 2021. And it was regarding certain of Mr. Molina's duties, including who was responsible for the 4104 monthly reports. So an interesting kind of background. When Mr. Molina was the Director of Finance and Management for the city between 1997 and 1999, he actually prepared these monthly reports as the Finance Director and submitted them to the City Council. The elected City Treasurer did not do that. However, when he filed his lawsuit in June of 2021, he indicated that now, in his role as the elected City Treasurer, he should be the one who prepares the reports. So Judge Burrell ruled against Mr. Molina in his lawsuit. You, of course, heard about this several times. And that lawsuit was, as I said, was filed in 2021. Judge Burrell ruled against Mr. Molina on February 14th, and he appealed. And then the unpublished decision, the Court of Appeals overturned Judge Burrell's decision. But this is where it gets interesting. So Judge Burrell issued the final ruling in the case based upon the appellate court's decision. So under the terms of the judgment, the city treasurer, not the CFO, is required to submit to the city clerk at least once a month a written report and accounting of all reimbursements, disbursements, and fund balances, and file a copy of the report with the city. So this language, which is based on the appellate court decision, is directly inconsistent with the language of Judge Guasco in the Moving Oxnard Forward case. So this creates a direct conflict between the opinion of the Superior Court and the opinion of the appellate court. So here's where we are today, and this is the city's position. The city has complied with Judge Guasco, order by doing the following. So starting, as I mentioned before, on April 30th, 2024, it was placed on the agenda, and then the CFO placed the last report on October 1st, 2024, reporting the July 2024 financials. So this is why the city stopped at that time. So this is through the date of the August 7th, 2024 appeals court's decision, which indicated that the city treasurer, not the CFO, was to submit to the city clerk this monthly report. And then starting on October 16th, the CFO mailed to Mr. Molina the monthly report for the month of August 2024 and has done so every month thereafter. However, Mr. Molina, as a city treasurer, did not submit to the city clerk at least once a month the written report and the accounting of the receipts and funding disbursement, and he did not file the report with the city
Can I
council.
ask you a question? I'm sorry to interrupt you. He's talking for a long time.
Let's,
This councilman wants to hear what the professional working for the city has to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Yeah, Councilmember Starr, let's allow him to finish. Go ahead.
So wrapping up here, I'm almost done. So as I indicated, Mr. Starr did not submit the reports as he was ordered to do by the appellate court. I'm sorry, I apologize, Mr. Starr. There's too many names here.
Sure.
So Mr. Molina did not submit the reports, and as required by the August 7th, 2024 appellate decision. And because of the competing cases and the interest of formally getting that information to the council, staff now placed these matters on the city council agenda and will continue to do so if Mr. Molina does not file these reports as required by the court. And tonight's agenda includes those 6 reports which Mr. Molina did not file with the city clerk and give to the city council. So, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilmember Starr.
And if I can just additionally add that Mr. Starr's political corporation's attorney did not meet and confer with our office about this issue before he filed his, or reserved his hearing date. And once we learned of that, then we looked to the amendment procedures under the section 2-224 of the Oxnard City Code that allows for urgency items in order to mitigate economic impacts due to late-breaking issues that come up that can be added to an agenda to hopefully avoid these things.
So I guess one thing I don't understand is this. Between October 1st and I think it was January 31st when the court came down with its final decision regarding the Molina case. Was it the 31st or the 29th? It's somewhere around there. It just seems odd to me that we'd say that, well, since October 1st, it's been Mr. Molina's responsibility in this one area, but we haven't applied that thinking to any of his other duties. So we're kind of inconsistent, it seems to me, in how we're applying the decisions. If everything else didn't go into effect until January 31st, as far as the city was concerned, it just seems strange that there'd be this carve out just for this one report that should somehow go into effect immediately. So, and I guess one question I would have is, it seems to me that the writ it's a valid judgment. I just don't know why the city didn't ask for leave from the court to either suspend that or to reassign that to the treasurer. I think that would have been a better way to go.
There are clearly different ways that cases can be handled. In this case, the Molina case was an appellate decision, and it actually was based upon what Mr. Molina asked happen. So he said, I want these duties, even though when I was the head of the finance department in the late 90s, he didn't have those duties. So he asked for these duties, and once he got them, he did not choose to actually exercise them. Now, there's a lot of back and forth, and we've had this detailed discussion in the many hours we spent together talking about Mr. Molina. But this is a situation, and Councilmember Starr, this is something we talked about, how the city's between a rock and a hard place with the litigation brought by moving Oxnard forward, the litigation brought by Mr. Molina. We have competing interests. We're trying to thread the needle here and comply with the appeals court decision, comply with the Superior Court decision, and it's almost an impossible situation. We're doing our best to comply.
Okay.
So
is it your position that right now the city treasurer is in charge of 41004 reports?
Yes, that is. Well, actually, it's not my opinion. It's what the appellate court said.
That's fine. I guess I'd like to ask some. I guess I don't want to ask questions right now of the CFO regarding this report. I guess since the reports are going to start being made by Mr. Molina, I guess I'd like to ask Mr. Molina. some questions about what you intend to do. So my understanding is that, so according to 41004, regularly at least once per month, the treasurer now shall formally submit a written report and accounting of all receipts, disbursements, and fund balances to the city clerk. The report must summarize the accounting to the extent necessary to give the city council an informative overview, explain the accounting which accompanies the report. I'm actually reading that verbatim with the exception of replacing CFO with treasurer from the court opinion that we had in our case. So since we kind of agree here that state law requires that the treasurer submit this report, my question for you, Mr. Molina, is this. It seems like you've got the duty to prepare this report. So I would believe it's your duty to submit the accounting and the report, and because of that, you also have the authority to determine the contents, provided they comply with the law. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Councilmember Starr, you are correct. And if I may add to, as usual, the incomplete statement from Ken, when I was the CFO from 97 to, I think, 99, I did prepare the monthly financial reports. I did those under the direction and the approval of the elected city treasurer. She appointed me to that position. She asked me to do it. I had her review the monthly financial reports. So yeah, I was functioning in the capacity, as I have in other general law cities, under the direction of the elected city treasurer. That has not happened here.
Okay.
So that, I think, is something to be considered.
All right, so if I can continue to ask you some more questions. Yes, this is future-oriented. So in addition to what staff has currently prepared for us, what contents would you put in this accounting? Would you organize it to look like a financial statement? where do you want to go with this?
Well, I would want to follow the court case that was earlier mentioned, and I think Mr. Sonstegard provided me with the page that the judge identified that, in essence, a computer ledger dump, and that's not a negative word, that just means, from an accounting perspective, 1,300-page document with transactions on it is not what the government code intended. Okay. The government code intended a summary in financial format of that information, and that's what I would intend to provide to you, so that during the year you could look at the revenues coming in, the property tax, and decide whether we're on mark or not. Okay. You could look at the city treasurer's department budget and say, Mr. Molina, why have you spent 80% of your budget when we're only 3 months into the year? Right. And you would expect me to get up and answer that question. Right now, I challenge you, as I have the public, I'd give anyone $50 to show me how much the city manager has spent in the successor agency funds of his budget.
So, Mr. Lane, I just want to ask you some more questions. Yes, and try and get through it as quickly as I can. So in any sort of accounting, if you were to notice anomalies in the information, would you typically review the source documents for accounting entries to determine if they were properly recorded and classified?
Yes, because the city has issued bonds, the government code specifically, I say, in a general law city that has issued bonds, it is the treasurer's responsibility to make sure that generally accepted accounting principles are being used. And the only way I could do that, if I found something that concerned me, would be to look at the source documents to make sure that everything's proper.
Okay, and in the written report that you would write, will you, and I'm going to quote from the court, summarize the accounting to the extent necessary to give the city council an informative overview, explain the accounting which accompanies the report?
Yes, sir, that would be my intent.
And if I may ask you, if you don't know at this time, that's fine, how might your information be different than what we see in the report submitted by the CFO today?
Well, I would like to use the recent Government Accounting Standards Statement number 3, and I think I've sent that to each of you. It shows two different types of financial statements. The revenues are generally the same. They would identify property tax, sales tax, interest income, and you would see the amount received that month and the annual budget, and you can obviously track whether we're online or not. With regards to the expenditures, there's two types. One that would show the major departments, the budget for the major department, and then you would be able to see, as my previous example was, whether or not the city treasurer was online or exceeded his budget or was way below his budget, so you could ask questions. The other type of report shows generally the same type of revenue by major types, sales tax, property tax, interest earnings, so forth. But with regards to the expenditures, then it shows the types of objects, which we refer to in government accounting as an object. Personnel services, contract services, insurance costs would be listed, and you would be able to see how much have we spent in each one of those compared to the budget.
Okay, so Mr. Molina, I'm going to just ask you a few yes/no questions so that we can kind of move this along just real quickly.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
as much
Councilwoman,
as I
so-
would like to go back and
It's
forth,
just
I
fine.
don't,
It's just fine.
I
want
don't
to
understand why we're doing all this right now. We as a council already made a decision. We either need to approve this and we just need to move on.
How much more time do you think you need, Councilmember Starr? How many more
I'm
questions?
going to ask just 5 quick yes/no questions and be done.
Okay, go ahead.
Has the city provided you with any staff so you can carry out this duty?
No,
Has the city provided you with access to staff in the finance department necessary for you to carry out this duty?
no,
Has the city provided you with a budget or any financial resources to retain any staff so that you can carry out this duty?
no,
Has the city provided you with real-time or other access to the city's computer systems and programs or training on those systems and programs necessary for you to carry out this duty?
no,
In the absence of these tools or resources, is it possible for any treasurer of a large city to prepare an accounting and report that meets your standards and will provide the council with an informative overview?
no.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Perlow.
Mayor, having a little more gray hair than everybody else up here, reminds me of a routine with Abbott and Costello, who's on first. This is kind of a joke, but for the real people that are watching this, the real people that pay attention to the city of Oxnard, we need to find out what's what. Mr. Starr used the term, and I give him the opportunity to describe it. He said, "our case." Was Mr. Starr using the hat as a city councilman and speaking about the city, or was Mr. Starr speaking about the case that he's filed numerous cases against the city of Oxnard? Specifically, this one that I believe he referred to before he was elected, because the city of Oxnard is in a very unique situation. We have 2 elected officials that have lawsuits against the city of Oxnard. It's serious because it costs money. It's serious because there have been votes taken. Mr. Starr was involved in a vote taken with the actions against the city treasurer. Mr. Starr was on the losing end of that, but there wasn't a vote taken. I don't understand exactly why we're repeating and rehashing this thing. If Mr. Starr has facts and evidence indicating that our CFO is doing something illegal, if there's falsehoods in the information, I want to know it as much as I would hope every other city councilman sitting up here wants to know it. If not, I give him the right as an elected official, as an American. People have fought and died for his right to ask the questions, but this is not Abbott and Costello, and this is not a comedy. This is the city of Oxnard's government, and we're trying to keep the city of Oxnard's government going in a straight line. Thank you, Mayor, for letting me speak.
Absolutely. And thank you, Councilwoman Pessoa, to bringing up the comment. We don't need to relitigate this. We did allow Councilmember Starr his last questions. Is there any other questions, any other comments by any other member here? Okay. Yeah. We didn't.
Mayor, just for the record, we have no public speakers virtually or in person. There is one person who's just listening or watching but has not raised their hands.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Oh, wait. Sorry.
Yeah. What's that?
Attorney, I don't know that we did take public comment. I could be.
Item I on the agenda was gone over and it was announced that there were no speakers virtually or in person that had signed up to speak for this item.
I stand corrected,
And then we
Mr.
moved
Fisher.
into the discussion of the information consent agenda, which is item J.
I stand corrected, Mr. Fisher. Thank you for correcting me, and I appreciate and apologize to my fellow
So,
council members.
Mr. Mayor, at this time, would it be in order just to make a motion to approve, I guess, the first item only, because the second item is a read and file, so we don't actually take action on that? So I guess at this point in time, I'd move that we approve item 1, staff's recommendations.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, the vote?
Councilwoman Basua?
Aye.
Councilmember Perallo? Yes. Councilwoman Bettis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Councilman Starr?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran?
Yes.
And Mayor MacArthur?
Yes.
And the motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, in place, we'll take the public hearing on item K1. This is from the Housing Department. The subject is a 5-year public housing agency plan. It's the annual PHA plan and capital fund program, 5-year action plan for low rent public housing. The recommendation is that the Board of Commissioners for the City of Oxnard Housing Authority, 1, hold a public hearing to receive comments concerning the 5-year public housing agency plan, the 2025 annual PHA plan, and the capital fund 5-year action plan and the 2025 capital fund budget. And 2, adopt a resolution approving a 5-year public housing agency PHA plan and the 2025 annual PHA plan for the Housing Authority of the City of Oxnard, authorizing and directing the chairman to execute the Department of Housing and Urban Development Public Housing Agency certification compliance form certifying the Housing Authority's compliance with federal policies and procedures, authorizing the Housing Director to execute and submit all reports, documents, and all other certifications required to comply with policies and procedures for the Department of Housing and Urban Development regarding the 5-year PHA plan and the 2025 annual PHA plan, approving the capital fund 5-year action plan and the 2025 capital fund budget, and authorizing the Housing Director to accept and expand the funds as indicated in the capital fund 5-year action plan and the 2025 capital fund budget. Ms. Brenda Lopez is the interim Housing Director. And we'll start with the City Clerk certification of the publication of written communication, if any. Madam Clerk?
Mayor, there was a legal notice for the public hearing published in Be the Newspaper on February 27th. The City Clerk's office received no written communications on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do any council members have any ex parte communications or other disclosures regarding this matter to state for the record?
I have none.
I have none.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem?
None, Mayor.
None. Okay. Thank you. I have none either. Members of the public were invited to sign up to speak on this item on the city's website, and a person who did not sign up may do so now by submitting a speaker card or following the instructions posted on the agenda for this meeting and at the city's website, oxnard.org, city meetings. Interim Housing Director Brenda Lopez posted a video presentation regarding this item and is available to answer any brief clarification questions council members may have before we take public testimony on this item. Do any council members have any questions at this time for Mrs. Lopez? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Lopez. This is a public hearing, and in a moment, the public will be invited for the public testimony period. But just before we get to that, my only question, and this is a common one, just because Measure M prohibits the community, the members of the public from seeing a live reenactment of the presentation around this public hearing, would you mind just summarizing what this item is and what we're looking at in front of us, please?
Sure, thank you. Again, Brenda Lopez, Interim Housing Director. This item is our annual plan and our 5-year plan. So the annual plan is the plan that we develop and we update every year to inform the council, members of the community, and the Department of Housing and Urban Development as far as how we're doing progress to meet our goals and our requirements from and and our requirements in regards to our public housing program and our Section 8 program. In addition, this annual plan ties into a 5-year plan. The 5-year plan is an overall strategic goal plan that outlines how we're going to meet all of our various goals as far as increasing affordable housing, assisting our low-income families, providing more self-sufficiency services, and increasing or even improving our internal operations, and also to apply for funding so that we can improve our properties. And that funding falls under what's called the Capital Fund Program. So when we submit our plans, they also serve as a form of application for capital funds. Those capital funds must be reinvested or used back to modernize public housing units. In a nutshell, that's the 2 plans.
Thank you. And just as a quick follow-up, looking on the staff report, I know there's a number of items for consideration, especially when we have the annual versus the 5-year. But I do see that there were some proposed new activities. Of those listed, would you mind just summarizing those just so we have them on the record also?
Sure. So there's also two parts. One is if we do any significant changes to our policies, we do need to provide that information to the community, gather feedback, comments, and then incorporate them to our policies. So this year, we are not proposing any significant changes to our policies as far as discretionary policies are concerned. All of the updates, which are a lot and significant, are mandated by the Department of Housing and Urban Development due to changes in regulations. The second part of our plan is for us to talk about any new activities that we're working on. So although we are describing them as new activities, these activities have been in our radar for a couple of years. As we advance each year, then we describe what the next step is. So in this case, one of the activities is what we call the Choice Neighborhoods Grant Program. The Choice Grant is a grant that the Housing Authority and the City of Oxnard partnered together to apply. The grant's purpose is to modernize and revitalize not just public housing units, but also the surrounding community. We were awarded a grant in 2024. So for this coming year, we're going to go through the next steps, which is to do all of our interviews and develop a vision plan, transformation plan that hopefully then in almost 2 years, we're going to apply for another grant so that we can get funding to be able to improve the communities. In this case, we're focusing on the public housing units that are located in La Colonia, which is Felicia Court and Colonia Road. We are also indicating that we are always looking for opportunities to apply for more housing assistance vouchers, in this case, project-based vouchers. Really, we're always monitoring for opportunities. And if we intend to apply, we must disclose it as our intention to apply. So if and when an opportunity is published, then we intend to apply for more vouchers that we can tie to units. So again, we can increase our affordable housing supply. And then the last item, which again is one that we actually started a couple years back, is what's known as a conversion. We intend to apply for the opportunity to convert our public housing program to the Section 8 program. So basically what it is, it's converting the platform, the funding platform for our public housing program. The reason behind this is that the opportunity for rents is higher. It will provide an opportunity to apply for financial support to be able to improve our properties. We still retain our properties. We don't lose properties. And the goal at the end of the day is to sustain in the long term and again, improve for our residents. Those are the 3 activities, but again, they've been going on for a couple of years. We just intend to continue pushing forward in the coming year.
Thank you for those summaries. I appreciate it. One last follow-up question is, when we talk about housing and urban development and that department, those are all federal funds, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Subject to changes in our administration.
Thank you.
Yeah, Councilwoman.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say that the Community Service Public Safety Housing and Development Committee approved 3-0 on February 25th. And some of the questions that I had were really around progress, how we're meeting some of the objectives that are listed in the plan there, and really just wanting to highlight that there are amazing opportunities that come out of some of these particular objectives. I know on page 50, I spoke a little bit about the OHA launching its scholarship program, which specifically awards scholarships on an annual basis to youth who are pursuing a higher education and whose family is currently in public housing or a Section 8 program participant. And then I also asked a question regarding increase street outreach and case management that's located on page 53, which is really a dedicated service to street outreach and case management in partnership with the Salvation Army to expand throughout our jurisdiction. So really just wanted to applaud the work that you're doing and for always giving a thorough response on the questions that we asked throughout the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yes, Councilmember.
I would like to back up Councilmember Perez. The interim housing director did a heck of a job answering the questions. She doesn't dance. She just comes straight on, answers the question. If she didn't know, she promised that she would get the information, and then she passed it on later on. Thank you very much. I have one question. I know that these funds, federal, some state, some various mix of funds, but there are very specific qualifications for people to get assistance, and there's background checks when people get those qualifications and they have to pass the background checks. Is there any frequency with which we go back and check the qualifications of the people that have been given these opportunities to?
Yes, all participants, both public housing Section 8, are required to go through an annual eligibility verification. It's mandated by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Admission has a couple of extra requirements. So once you're admitted, for example, maybe a background check we won't run in the future, but every year you must be eligible for the program. And it is verified. In the unfortunate event you do not comply, we do terminate the assistance.
Thank you very much. And again, I appreciate the work that you're doing for our housing department.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Perello. Are there any other comments by members of this? Councilmember Starr?
First of all, thank you for all your work on this. You have a lot of expertise here that I don't even come close to having. I do just kind of want to ask a question. Not that I'm advocating for this, but I just want to know, what would be the consequence if we didn't approve this 5-year plan and the annual plan? What's the consequences to us?
Those are mandated reports by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. They're mandated 75 days prior to a fiscal year. So we will not be able to continue operations should we not be able to pass our plans. Again, it's a guiding document. It's also a reporting document that the Department of Housing and Urban Development requires.
So this allows us to do business, and I guess it also allows us to have access to various grants, or HUD funds, including this, I guess it was $1,057,000 that was mentioned in the report.
Correct, the capital fund, which is the funding that goes back towards improvement of the public housing units that are in our portfolio.
Okay. All right. I think that answers all my questions. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Perello.
I appreciate the question Councilmember Starr addressed, but in more of a plain language, if we don't get the funding and if we don't approve it and we don't have the funding in place to do what your department does, how many people, just human beings, would be impacted? Possibly positively, or I would imagine negatively.
I don't know the total number of individuals in our program, but what I do know is we have close to 1,700 vouchers leased, and then we have 523 public housing units also leased. And in each unit could be one person up to 7 people per unit. So it just depends on how many.
So
it's a couple thousand.
So just for a guy who's not the sharpest tack in the box here, a voucher could be 1 up to 7 people per voucher. And again,
Correct.
how many vouchers?
We have a little bit under 1,700 leased
So
up.
it'd be a big chunk of, a heck of a lot of people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I was going to comment that Mayor Pro Tem went to that mathnasium opening, so maybe you can do the math, right? Thank you, Ms. Lopez. I appreciated all the questions you answered and the presentation you made to the committee a few weeks back. So thank you for that. Any other comments or questions? If not, I'll open it up for a public testimony for this public hearing. Are there any speakers on this item?
Mayor, we have 2 virtual speakers. Speaker or caller ending in 3259, press *6 to unmute. You can introduce yourself if you'd like, and you have 3 minutes starting now. Caller ending in 3259, please press star 6 to start.
Yeah, I did. Hi, this is Deirdre Frank. I think this agenda item should be approved. This is good stuff. The only thing I would mention is with respect to Mr. Starr's comment about yellow flashing arrow at El Camino and Rice. This is not a good idea. As a personal injury lawyer, I'll tell you, you put a yellow flashing arrow, it sounds like, it looks like it's okay to proceed until it turns red. It doesn't indicate a yield at all. So if you want me to stay in business and make a lot of money,
Yeah, I think she may be, Madam Clerk, I don't know if she's, Deidre, I think you're speaking on the wrong item here. This is a public hearing.
No, I'm speaking on this item. I'm speaking on this item because I don't want you to put any of those flashing lights around low-income housing. My hand has been raised all along, and I haven't been called on. So also, I think with respect to litigated matters, you should, Mr. Mayor, not be having any discussion about anything that's being litigated that may create additional liability on behalf of the city. Period. And while I appreciate all the emphasis on youth at this meeting, and I know youth live in these housing developments too. You see, I'm trying to keep it within your agenda item. I would like a little bit more attention paid to your generational library here, like your seniors. You know, as the former chair of Measure O, we tried to commit funds for finally putting together the senior center that was supposed to go in on 5th Street, near Patterson. And, you know, you want to talk about mentors? Your seniors here are mentors. Those of us have provided mucho benefit to the city of Oxnard without zero recognition or appreciation or dedication or funding. I think this is shameful. So I just want you to know that I'm especially concerned about the litigation that you're allowing this discussion to go on. There's a legitimate dispute between the decisions between Judge Burrell and Judge Guasto. And you're exposing the city to great liability by these admissions on the public record. And as mayor, you should really know better. All right, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deidre Frank, for calling in. We'll move to the next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Okay, caller ending in 6377, please press star 6 to unmute. You have 3 minutes starting now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. This is Manuel Herrera, Creator Citizens for Better Oxnard. You know, you had a previous speaker who called in to ask about why are people trying to recall Aaron Starr. Well, I hope that the speaker was continuing to watch this meeting, because he would see exactly why Aaron Starr continues to make a case for his recall. No, Mr. Mayor, you allowed the last speaker to speak
Manuel, are you calling in about this public hearing item? This is what's on the agenda right now that we're taking callers for.
Yeah, I'm calling about both.
Well, no, that you can only speak on what we're talking about now, which is this public hearing from the Housing Authority. So if you have some comments to make on this public hearing, you're welcome to make your comments.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if you would take charge of the meetings, people wouldn't have to be calling after the fact. Why do you continue to allow Aaron Starr to act as the attorney for Phil Molina? Why do you continue to do that?
I'm sorry, Mayor, we're going to cut you off if you're not going to comment on this public hearing item that we're entertaining. Okay.
Mayor, that concludes our virtual speakers for this item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommendations listed.
I second that.
Confirming there were no additional speakers, Madam Clerk?
That is correct.
Okay.
Mayor.
Yeah, we're closing the public testimony portion now, and we have on the table Councilwoman Perez made the motion, second by, was it Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Okay. Call for the vote at this time?
Commissioner Perallo?
Yes.
Commissioner Bettis?
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
Aye.
Commissioner Starr?
Aye.
Vice Chair Teran?
Yes.
Commissioner Basua?
Aye.
Commissioner Andrade?
Yes.
And Chair MacArthur?
Yes.
And the motion carries 8-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may just make a strange comment.
Go ahead.
I hope that a year from now, we'll be back here to do this, meaning that there's still a HUD.
Thank you. Commissioner, you may be excused at this time. Thank you very much, Commissioner Andrade. The next item on the agenda is item L1. This is from the Finance Department. The subject is fiscal year 2023-24 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report and Summary Presentation. The recommendation is that the City Council ratify and approve the fiscal year 2023-24 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report and fiscal year 2023-24 warrants register in the form of that ACFR. And we have Mr. Javier Lázaro here to introduce a consultant, if there are any questions.
Good evening. Javier Chagoyer Lázaro, Chief Financial Officer with the City of Oxnard. Today we have the auditors to present the financial information for fiscal year 23-24. And we have Brandon that will be doing the presentation. And just before passing over to him, I just want to thank all the departments that have been helping to collect all the information that is summarized in this report through the fiscal year. Without their help, we won't be able to produce this report. And I also want to highlight that overall the financial condition for the city has improved, as you will see in the report that is going to be shared by the external auditors. And we'll just have Diego to bring the presentation for Brandon just to take over.
Mayor.
Thank you. Absolutely, Mayor Protem, go ahead.
While we're waiting for the slides to come up, I'll admit that when you mentioned the auditor or the consultant was here, I looked up because they're usually on Zoom, and then I was, oh, there's nobody there. Then no, we're here in person. So thank you for coming. Just wanted to take a moment to say that.
Again, thank you for having me, and thank you for the committee having me last week. While I wait, I'll just kind of give you a status update. We have completed the audit. We are prepared. We received the representation letters today from management. We will be issuing the final act for tomorrow. And a little update on the single audit. We are in the draft stage, so I'll be doing my review tomorrow or the next day, getting it off to tech, and hopefully getting a draft to management in the following week. Oh, there we go. All right. So again, we have completed, my name is Brandon Farrell with a partner with Edie & Payne. We have completed the audit for the City of Oxnard for June 30th, 2024. As part of our audit requirement, we are required to discuss an overall broad discussion to the board, kind of how the audit went, some big ticket items, things we draw reference to, just kind of like a 50,000-foot level view of the audit to give you guys the information on how everything went. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about here today is our opinion. The significant audit matters. We'll go over some act for highlights. And that just details down to the general fund group and then the budget to actuals. It is our opinion this year that, as in prior years, that the financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with U.S. GAAP. So again, a clean opinion this year. So again, want to thank management and their whole staff for running a clean ship. It makes my job easier when I get to issue a clean opinion. Now let's talk about what an audit entails, right? We can't, nor does anyone want to pay us to audit every transaction, right? So generally auditing standards require us to run a risk-based audit. And the way we do that, we get an understanding of the entity, management, operations, internal controls. We assess fraud risk. And based on that, we assign risk to different areas. And that's where we concentrate our audit procedures. And to give you an example, we're not going to audit prepaid expenses, something that's very immaterial and not risky, like we are revenue. So again, based on the operations, and it may change from operation to operation, but again, that's how we do it. And we do that through the assessment of internal controls is a big part of it. So what we do in our assessment of internal controls, we do walkthroughs with management, and we do internal control testing where we take a group of these transactions into certain cash receipts, cash disbursements, and payroll type activities, and we test to make sure that the internal controls are properly designed and are effectively working. Any questions on the audit opinion? All right. Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
Councilmember Pro.
Yes, there have been questions in the past about the auditors, and I heard the presentation when you talked to the Finance Committee, and I was very impressed. You do not take a cookie cutter template in one city to another city to another. And it's just a straight up yes or no?
No, absolutely not.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? All right. Next slide here. Go ahead there, I'm sorry. Jesus. Oh, wrong button. It's the little button, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. So, again, some items that we are required to talk about are we draw attention to any significant accounting policies that we implement in the current year. GASB, every year, I think it was job security, requires us to implement improved accounting standards. This year was kind of like a nothing burger. It was GASB 100, which has to deal with the presentation of prior period adjustments related to accounting changes and correction of error. Nothing really material happens as far as the accounting for numbers. It's really just how things are presented within the ACFR and how they're detailed out. We also draw attention to significant accounting estimates. What we consider significant for this city would be the allowance for doubtful accounts, the estimates related to pension and OPEB, estimates related to self-insurance claims payable, and then also contingencies. Any questions on anything on this slide? All right. Next, just to talk about some significant audit matters. Furthermore, we draw attention to significant disclosures. So disclosures provide further context to information that is within the basic statements. The first part of the disclosures talk about the general accounting policies of the city, and then the ones past that, again, give further context to certain items in the financial statements. So the ones that we consider fairly significant would be the ones related to cash and investments, long-term debt, deficit fund balance, prior period adjustments, pensions and OPEB, commitments and contingencies, and then risk and uncertainties. Any questions?
I do have a question, and if you want to answer this now or later, it doesn't matter. But we have new GASB pronouncements that have come out, 103 and 104, and I'm wondering, what would we expect next year, let's say? How would our reporting be enhanced or different, do you think?
103, 104 are not applicable for next year. The one you have coming next year would be 101, and that's related to the treatment of compensated absences. Okay. And not if you want me to go into further detail, I can, but the real big change there is how you account for sick pay or accrued sick pay.
Okay. So I'm looking at 103 on page 182 here, or page 59 of your report. So it talks about 103 going into effect for periods beginning after June 15, 2025. So I guess when I said next year, I don't mean this fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020. I'm wondering for the following year when that goes into effect.
We have not currently done an assessment how it affects the city in particularly.
That's okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council people? All right. Again, we draw attention to any audit adjustments. Again, these are adjustments that we come across, and also that management reports to us that happened during the audit. Two audit adjustments that we noted in the current year would be related to notes receivable. That was a decrease in assets and the related liabilities of $1.3 million. The other audit adjustment was related to a prior period adjustment for construction in progress that was not posted in the 4-year end 2023. That increased governmental activities net position by $6.3 million and the business type net position by $10.3 million. We also had a past audit adjustment for a gain on sale of property, which would have increased revenues and assets of $400,000. Let me just describe the past audit adjustments. Past audit adjustments are what we consider not material to the financial statements. If not made, they would not materially misstate the financial statements. So it's at that point, we give management the opportunity whether they want to make it or not. This was kind of discovered late in the game, so management decided that we're going to pass on it, and then it would be made in the beginning of this current fiscal year. Any questions on any of on this slide?
Go ahead, Councilmember Perla.
So just to be clear, on the audit adjustments, those came about because actually city management notified you that these were issues and they brought that to your attention.
Yes.
It's not like you came up and said, oh, you guys made a mistake. We actually came forward and said, hey, we need to make this change, right?
In this instance, yes, it was concurred against our auditing procedures.
Thank you. Councilmember Perla, go ahead.
Just, we have several members of the public that watch this and like myself, not experts in this area, but when they see adjustments, it's like red flags. Did you find anything where we did something wrong? Money got lost, money got misused?
No.
Somebody pulled some shenanigans? Because we will have people that look at this or hear this and they'll go, aha. Did you find anything like that?
No, these are corrections of errors. Again, errors are not considered fraudulent. They are what they are errors.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Councilmember.
So just to be clear, the scope of your audit, where the public shouldn't expect that you're going to find every possible instance of fraud out there. That's not actually the purpose of your audit. Your purpose of your audit is just simply to state whether our statements are, in the broad sense, fairly presented.
Correct. And I'll just describe our responsibility as it relates to fraud. We are not required to detect fraud. However, if we do come across something that we feel that may be fraudulent, we bring that to the attention of management and the governing body.
And is it fair to say that basically at the end of the day, it's us as management, we're responsible for the accuracy of our financial statements. The outside CPA firm certainly does its work.
Yes.
But ultimately, it's still our responsibility.
And I'll describe that responsibility. We did assist management in the preparation of this ACFR. However, ultimately, the only thing I own in that whole document is our opinion, those first 4 pages. So management takes responsibility for the financial statements, and they signed a representation letter indicating such.
Thank you. Go ahead.
All right?
Yeah.
All right. Next, again, as we talked about earlier, we assign risk. It is our job to look at operations, internal controls, and look at the areas and assign either significant and or fraud risk. We are required to tell you those as well. We had 2 significant risks that we considered, again, significant for the audit purposes. One is improper revenue recognition due to fraud. The other would be surrounding a significant risk around the contingent liabilities from litigation. Now let me describe it. Let me just talk about the improper revenue recognition due to fraud. Generally accepted auditing standards requires that this be a fraud risk unless you can dictate otherwise or account for otherwise. It's a very rare occurrence that we're able to say it's a nothing burger and it's not applicable. So again, that is the one thing set in stone by generally auditing standards, that this has to be a risk unless you can prove otherwise. So not indicative of anything management's doing, it's just a requirement by the auditing standards. Any questions on that? All right, and then again, the second one, just again, anything around contingent liabilities and litigation, we always kind of see risky, so we want to make sure they're accounted for and accrued for properly. Again, during our audit, thank you management, we no significant difficulties encountered, no disagreements with management. Ultimately, like I said, we do assess internal controls. We are currently working on finalizing our internal control report, and that will be issued with the single audit report as well. Any questions on this slide?
Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I'm just wondering if you could take just a quick second to share about internal controls and how those work and why we look for those.
The biggest thing with internal controls is the overlying purpose of them is segregation of duties. With proper internal controls and segregation of duties, the only way fraud should be able to be committed is through collusion. So again, very important to have very strong internal controls. And that's one thing I think I pride myself in our firm is our assessment of those and really looking into those, testing them and working with management to make any corrections possible.
Thank you. And I appreciate that and the concept around that, because Every time that we get these updates, I hope that the public can liken it to, if you are working at a table or little league with a cash box, where even internal controls there would exist, where there's never one person alone with a cash box ever at a time.
Absolutely.
Or the person who receives the money is not the same person who counts the money or the same person who deposits that money. And again, it's never left alone. And those separation of duties ensures integrity in that process.
Very important. And let me just remind the council where we came from. When we first took over this account, I think 2015, our initial audit had 111 internal control findings that through over the years the city has worked through. And right now, I'm not trying to speak out of turn because I haven't done my final review on them, but they're mostly related to IT that they are currently clearing right now. So again, very important to know where you came from, where you're currently at. So again, hats off to the prior management or along the years have worked on this. It's been a process, but again, very important to have very strong internal controls.
Thank you. And I say this each time also that if it's nearly unprecedented for any particular agency to have that many findings, it should also be recognized the near unprecedented stance that we have of making that type of strides within the time frame we have, and just really turning the corner as an agency. So thank you for that.
Completely agree.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. No.
All right. Getting into a couple of the financial highlights. Again, in government accounting, there's kind of really two types of statements. We have our government-wide statements, and then we have our fund balance statements. Government-wide, you could think about more of your private sector entity financial statements, which include all assets, meaning current, long-term, same thing with the liabilities. Your fund balance financial statements really mostly curtailed to your current liabilities and assets and how you run your day-to-day operations with the government. So first thing we'll talk about is a government-wide statement called the net position. This is where your assets and liabilities and your net position, overall net position on a government-wide basis is presented. So we have just a diagram here, kind of has the breakup of the different portions of it. So we have for the current year, we have a total net position of about $2.5 million. Total liabilities of just under $950 million. I'm sorry, it was 2.5 billion. Sorry if I misspoke on that one. And then the total assets and deferred outflows about 3.4 billion. Overall, and then if we talk about the net position, 2.3 billion of that's related to your investment in capital assets, and about 175 million are restricted net assets. Again, if you look at the different categories, you see your net position improve year over year, and then also your assets and deferred outflows improving while your liabilities drop. So definitely you guys are trending in the right direction there. Any questions on this slide?
That's great. No.
Sorry, and I know I speak fast, so please, if you need me to repeat anything, just feel free to let me know. All right, next slide, we're going to talk about our revenues here. So it's segregated in different sections. Overall, we had an increase of about $87 million in total revenues, and they're presented in the categories of charges for service, operating grants and contributions, capital grants, taxes, and then kind of a catch-all of other. So see big increases there in kind of year over year increases in every category. Any questions on this slide?
Yes, Mayor Perlo.
One question. In other, at what point in value, 24, if it gets to 26, 27, do you break down other? What are the biggest components in other?
I don't have that information. I can get it to you.
Okay.
They're less.
The main component in that one is the investment income.
Okay. Okay.
Will be the main driver. And in this year, what we saw since the interest rate start coming down a little bit, we saw an improvement on the unrealized gain of the investments.
Thank you very much, Javier. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
No.
All right. Let's go over the expenses. Overall, we had an increase in expense about $51 million. Again, you can see it segregated into the different categories of general government, public safety, public works, community development, all the way down. Overall, you see a pretty consistent year-over-year increase there. A lot of these related to personnel cost. You guys have less vacancies, improved benefits and payroll account for most of those increases. Any questions?
No.
All right. To detail out, so those were the revenues there were a portion of what we call the governmental activities. Again, those are more your services, how you run the government. They're more of collecting taxes and providing government services. You also have a section of the government-wide financial statements that we call business type activities. These include the water, wastewater, environmental resources, golf course. Again, these are more ran like business type. You're providing a service, you're getting a fee in response there. So overall, year over year, revenues increased $29 million with expense increasing about $13 million. And you can see the breakup of each category there. Any questions on this slide?
Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And I don't know if maybe the CFO can speak to this, but when we see our enterprise funds here with environmental resources, again, this is for the end of the fiscal year, June 30, 24. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I'll make note that last year is when we had a rate study and went through the Proposition 218 process for our solid waste as an enterprise fund. Is that not yet reflected as of June 30, 2024, just so that's clear for the public? Javier?
That's correct. The new rates went into place in July 1st of 2024, so one day after this financial information is being presented.
Great, thank you. And I just wanted that to be stated on the record, as one could certainly look at this this graph here and see that environmental resources had far more expenses than they did revenues or program revenue. But knowing that that was a process that was happening concurrently, and our environmental resources folks were well aware of it and took action, which we acted on as a council in 2024. So thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Parlo, go ahead.
City Manager, we have an infrastructure use fee study coming in place. Would that impact this environmental chart, the resources?
The environmental? Oh,
Yes.
you know what, ER? I'm going to have the Public Works Director come up.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council Members, Michael Wolf, Public Works Director. I'm going to have to look at this chart since it's the first time I've seen this. So this is showing expenses and revenues for last fiscal year. And the question is whether or not the 2025 IUF will affect this. So obviously the next fiscal year chart will look differently just because the expenditures and revenues will be different next fiscal year. So all operations and expenditures will affect the way this chart looks next year.
Can I assume that the environmental resources difference in the two bars will not be as great?
Well, that's a functionality.
And the council would have to approve that action going forward, but I mean.
But that's more of a function of the rates rather than the IUF.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf.
All right. Any further questions? All right. Next slide, we're going to get into more of the fund financial statements and the fund balance. Your fund balance is kind of, think about it at a fund level, it's your equity in the, in the government. It is segregated into several different sections: restricted, committed, assigned, and unassigned. So you can see the breakup of each category. Just to remind the council, the assigned are amounts that are constrained by government intent. Committed are used for specific purposes that are dictated by the council, so approved and dictated by you. And then restricted are funds that are restricted by outside or third parties.
Can you clarify again the distinction between committed and assigned?
Assigned would be, again, just the general intent of the government. We're going to use it for this. Committed would be by action of the highest body in the government, being the council.
So if, for example, we were to increase our commitment, would it correspondingly reduce the amount of the assigned?
Committed.
If
you guys wanted
if we were to increase a commitment, It would come out of the assigned category, I guess?
It'd be actually out of the unassigned.
Unassigned,
Yeah.
got it. Thank you.
Any further questions?
No.
All right. Next, at the general fund group level, this slide shows the revenues and expenditures for 2024 and 2023 in the comparison. So again, for the general fund group, we have $265 million of revenue in 24 compared to $180 million in expense. And you see the year-over-year difference, the $241 million in the prior year of revenue and $175 million of expense. Any questions on this one? All right. This is kind of a further breakup of the revenue on a year-over-year basis. So we have the first category: property taxes, sales taxes, other taxes, charges for services, and then all other categories. So overall, pretty much an increase year over year for all categories. Next one details the general fund expenditures. Again, segregated into the different natural categories of general government, public safety, public works, community development, cultural leisure, housing, and the capital outlay. Again, in total expenditures of $203 million compared to $191 million in the prior year. Any questions? Another part of government financial statements that we're required to show is the budget to actual related to the general fund. So this is just a detailed version on budgeted revenues comparison per category, and then budget to actual in the expenditures for each category. I think overall we had a overall favorable actual compared to the budget of about $75 million. So again, favorable budget to actual, increase in net position, definitely trending in the right direction as far as the city goes.
Thank you.
Any questions on this slide?
No.
And that concludes my presentation. Any other general questions that I hopefully could answer for you?
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers on this item?
Mayor, we do not have any public speakers virtually or in person. Thank you.
Thank you. Any council member wish to comment? Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Farrell.
In your professional, you're doing other cities. Have you found many other cities in situations like this?
Meaning?
Favorable?
Yes. I mean, depending on their cities, we have cities that do a great job. We have problem childs, Oxnard used to be. So again, it runs the gambit.
And the reason I ask is I read the headlines of various cities having financial, they're looking at making cuts, making slash. That's, it's like, holy crap. How did, I shouldn't have said that.
In my opinion, again, where the city's come from and where it's currently at and the commitment management has to doing the right thing and for the city, again, the hats off to them in my opinion.
Yeah, I personally, from the past members that were on the council and current, it's a big kudo to them. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Thank you. Councilmember Starr? No, nothing. If there is no further comment, what's the desire of council on this item?
I do have a question about the motion that needs to be made, though.
Go ahead.
So the recommendation presented to us here is different than what was presented to us at the committee. At the committee, we were to ratify and approve the annual comprehensive financial report. And in this recommendation, which the committee has not considered, we are to also approve the fiscal year 2023 to 2024 warrants registered in the form of that ACR. I do have some issues with the second piece here. I do see them as two different motions in effect, and I would want to discuss both separately. I don't have any issues with actually the ACFR itself, but I do have an issue with this new piece that's been added, and I'll explain why when given the opportunity.
Do you want to, what are you thinking? What do you want to
Sure, if you want me to
the
speak now.
recommendation?
So one, I wouldn't adopt the proposal. What it does, let me back up a step. When I used to live in Simi Valley, one of the things that our council did each meeting is we would actually approve the register of warrants that were issued since the last meeting. And that gave the city council the opportunity to see a listing of everything that was being spent on. And sometimes it would result in a council member asking a question about a certain expenditure that came up, and it increases the visibility dramatically for the public. So I would like to actually go that route, which we haven't been doing and ought to have been. What this proposed motion does here is it proposes to basically dispense with the need for the legislative body to ratify and approve these warrants just by simply saying, well, we had an audit and the audit's clean, therefore we don't even have to really consider the checks that we've been issuing over time. So that's my issue with it. I don't think we need to do this. I think we need to instead be able to see what it is that we're spending between meetings and say, hey, we're on the right track or we're not.
City Attorney?
So Mayor, the city treasurer put out an email that I assume all the council received in the past few weeks regarding payroll warrants and checks and how they needed to be approved. And he cited Government Code Section 37208, subdivisions A and B, for the claim that that is the way it had to be done, what Councilman Starr just described. Unfortunately, the treasurer omitted subdivision C, which says, notwithstanding subdivisions A and B, budgeted payrolls and demands paid by warrants or checks may be presented to the legislative body for ratification and approval in the form of an audited comprehensive annual financial report, which is what the city has, as long as I've been with the city, has done. So this specificity is to address that omission by the treasurer in providing that information to the public that he sent his email to and to the council that received it, and to satisfy that requirement. So while several cities do what Mr. Starr was describing, that is not the set requirement under the government code.
So the city attorney is correct that we do have the option of invoking, I guess it's subsection or division C of that government code if we want to. And I'm saying that we don't have to. We could go with the old-fashioned route of A and B, which basically allow subsections A and B, which basically allows the council to approve these warrants as they're issued. I think it increases visibility dramatically, and that's why I'm in favor of going that route instead of simply saying, well, we don't need to look at this. It's been audited. We don't really have to think about it.
So, Mayor, this is a statute that was last amended in 1986, so this method has been around a while. And in fact, our office archives show memos from when Mr. Molina was the city's finance manager, where the city attorney's office was asked to look at this issue and provided the explanation I just gave to finance manager Molina, and he somehow forgot about that. And that is also how it's been explained to past administrations.
Right.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, Mr. Mayor, this has nothing to do with Mr. Molina. I don't care about his emails. What I care about is whether we have the opportunity and the public has the opportunity to see us ratify these warrants as they're presented. That's where I'm coming from. Now, the council might disagree with me, and that's fine. But I think the visibility is helpful, and I don't see any downside I don't see any downside to providing this information with a standard city council meeting. It'd just be another
Thank you.
item that's on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Councilmember. So I'd like to hear from Mr. Lázaro. If you can expand on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I just want to highlight that the information that all the warrants that the city paid are available to the public through the city portal. Every month after we close the books, we publish every single payment that the city makes, and it's available for the public to see who the city is making payments.
On the portal.
That's actually not accurate because it doesn't include payroll. So you can't look at the payroll warrants. You can't list the rest, right? I mean, accounts payable, sure.
And I was referring all the accounts payable.
That's right. And since we also would be ratifying the payroll warrants as well, those are clearly not presented to the public through this portal. So the public doesn't really have.
Mr. Starr, may I ask?
Sure.
What city publishes the payroll warrants?
It is a public record.
It is a public record, but where does it come to the city council for ratification? Because payroll records, in my point of view, if I'm paying child support out, I don't want people to know that. If I'm paying alimony out, I don't want people to know that.
It won't say that.
So what are you looking for? Just an amount?
Yeah.
Go to Transparent California, you'll find it.
Well, Transparent California and I'm glad you brought that up because Transparent California shows that these are public records because they're able to request the information, they're able to publish, but it's only on an annual basis.
So
basically, if I could just finish, it'll be basically, I think you can look at 2023 data right now. I don't think you can look at 2024 data online through Transparent California. It's a long time before people get to see this.
So we have classifications within, for example, a city manager pay rate is this. A community development director pay rate is this. Is there, what is it that you're looking for particularly? You're looking for, we paying more than what we should?
So there are times where we have very large payroll expenditures because sometimes overtime gets a little bit out of control. And if we were able to see payroll warrants, we might have that opportunity to see that sort of thing. And that helps us manage this better. Now, we can be willfully blind to that, I suppose, but I don't think we should be.
It's not that we're going to be willfully blinded to this, but we do have a city manager, and under his purview, he runs operations. He runs the day-to-day operations for that. If you would like to sit down with him and go over police overtime and have a detailed conversation, you are more than welcome to do that. But I mean, I think this conversation is really going nowhere. There is a recommendation here in order for us to move forward with accepting the ACFR. You are more than welcome to sit down with city staff for any of your concerns. If you feel that they're not doing things properly, by all means, sit down with them. But I think that this is just overkill for us to be even discussing payroll records specifically for overtime.
So Government Code 37208 gives us this option. It's perfectly legal. It's legal to not look at all this stuff, I suppose, if we want to adopt this motion. But there's nothing unlawful about us being able to see these records on a regular basis, and more importantly, for the public to be able to see. Sure, I can sit down with city management pretty much whenever they're willing to sit down with me, but the public isn't going to be doing that.
Mayor.
I appreciate the comments, Councilmember Starr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. I'm just wondering if, Mayor, if Councilmember Starr has a motion he wants to throw out there based on what he's sharing here.
I don't think he does. I think he was just introducing another option.
So first I wanted to understand what we were doing as far as, so I guess the first thing is that I would demand that these be divided into two pieces because they're really two separate motions. And like I said, I have no objection to ratifying and approving the ACFR. I'm just simply saying that when it comes time to vote on the second item, I'm going to want to vote no because I don't think it's appropriate for us to not disclose this to a public on a regular basis.
Okay.
But, you know, the council can certainly disagree with me, and I'm okay with that.
Councilwoman Perez, do you have a comment? Or no, Councilmember Pearl?
For lack of moving this along, I could back up Councilmember Starr, separate the items. I intend to vote for both of them, saying it right now. But I want to say something. You know, if Mr. Starr made that motion, if he didn't, I'll make the motion. But I want to make it straight. Mr. Starr, this is personal now. When you called out Chief Financial Officer, he was wrong. I called him out. But you didn't say anything when it was pointed out that Mr. Molina doesn't send out accurate truth when he sends out these emails. And it was, I think the words were, didn't matter. It does matter. Mr. Molina has a tremendously big email list, and he puts ideas in people's heads. A lot of them, you know, you're fortunate to have them following you, but they come up and they attack the city of Oxnard. They're attacking me and you and every other person sitting up here. So I just want to share that with you. Facts and evidence and the truth matter. Big. The city used to be in a spot where it didn't. It's taken a lot of work to get where it is now. I don't want you ever to forget that. That's not a threat. I don't want you ever to forget that.
I do want to clarify something, though, which is that when I said that Mr. Molina's opinion or his emails didn't matter to me, I'm saying for this particular subject, that's not what's driving me. You know, the staff was kept bringing up Molina and what he wanted to do and what he has done and what he sent out, and it's like, I don't care what Molina wants to do. I'm simply saying that I want to create this type of level of transparency for the public.
You have an opportunity?
Absolutely, and that's why I'm putting forward that we should vote down the second proposal. And I get I'll probably be outvoted here, but that's where I'm coming from. And Molina had nothing to do with that.
I'm trying to help you so you get the opportunity to separate them. I made a motion. I don't know if you're interested in seconding it.
Actually, it's not even necessary. Any one member can demand.
You said you wanted to separate. You make up your mind, Aaron.
No, you misunderstood. I'm sorry. So Section 27, paragraph 10 of Roberts basically says sometimes a series of independent resolutions or main motions dealing with different subjects is offered in one motion. So in a case such as that, we are able to, any one member here can just demand that they be considered separately. That's all I did. I just demanded to be handled separately. It doesn't require a motion to do that. It's just simply a simple demand. And let's just go forward. I guess we kind of debated this to death. I think you're probably ready for a vote on each item anyway.
Yeah. We could just move this along, but we do hear your comments, Councilmember Starr. Councilmember Pearl, do you have a motion on the table on this one?
Split it in half and vote for the first one.
It's already split.
Okay.
Okay, excuse me, I'm sorry.
The mic.
I'm not a parliamentarian, I'm not married to one. Mr. Fisher, can you handle this, please, appropriately?
So if the clerk if we're ready for a vote, you can take the first item, first half of the recommendation.
Mayor, just for the record, the maker of the motion is Councilmember Perallo.
Yes.
And a second by?
We're actually seeking a second. Is there a second?
I can second.
Aye.
I can second.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rodriguez, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bettis?
Just to be clear, we're voting right now on the motion to ratify and approve the ACFR. That's what this motion is. Thank you.
Yes.
That's correct.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Bettis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Councilman Starr?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran?
Yes.
Councilwoman Basua?
Aye.
Mayor MacArthur?
Yes.
Councilmember Perallo?
Yes.
And that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Now, for the fiscal year 23-24 warrants, register in the form of that ACRF. May I have a motion on that?
Do you want to make a motion on that? We've got it here with Councilman Perallo.
You can make it.
Well, I think Councilmember Perallo had mentioned splitting both, and I think that if we take it to a vote with the recommended action, it would just be a separate vote for the second. So if there's a motion against it and folks voted down, then we would need a third motion. So I would just like to move that we approve the recommended action as staff proposed. So take a second vote.
Yeah.
Is there a second for that?
Yes.
So we're voting on the second item, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Because we got a first and a second, Madam Clerk, with Councilwoman Rodriguez and second by Councilmember
Before we get
Perillo. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a quick item of discussion before we move on to the vote here. I just want to thank the finance department and our CFO and all the staff who brought this, including Edie and Payne, and again for them coming in person. But I especially want to thank our staff for working with the auditor firm to have a live presentation. And I hope that that added some really good visual context to members of the public who were able to see that live. I know that I benefit from that. I hope that my colleagues did as well, because I know we don't always get those. So thank you. That's my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you for that. I also did enjoy the live presentation. So thank you to the consultant for coming out. We'll proceed with the vote, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Basua?
Aye.
Councilmember Perillo?
Yes. Yes.
Councilwoman Bettis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Councilmember Starr?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Teran?
Yes.
Councilwoman Basua?
I already voted. Aye.
I think she
I'm
voted
sorry.
already. Yeah.
And Mayor
That's-
MacArthur, sorry.
Yeah, yes.
And that motion carries 6-1,
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
with Councilmember Starr voting no.
The next item on the agenda is item L2, Community Development Department. The subject, City of Oxnard 2024 General Plan Annual Progress Report. We approximate it'll take about 10 minutes. The recommendation is that the Oxnard City Council receive and file the City of Oxnard's 2024 General Plan and Housing Element Annual Progress Report. And Mr. Jeff Pingilly's here to answer any questions we may have, or to just simply give us an overview. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Pingilly.
Good evening, Jeff Pingilly, Community Development Director. I have with me Joe Pearson, Planning and Environmental Services Manager, and Kathleen Mallory, Planning and Sustainability Manager. Both of them know much more about this topic than I do. This is an annual report presenting general plan updates, which also includes an update on the housing element piece of that. If there's any specific questions you have on the report itself or on the presentation that you saw, please let us know. We're here to answer those questions.
Any council member have any questions of staff on this? Go ahead, Councilmember Perillo.
Yes. I appreciate the presentation, the PowerPoint, specifically the Moldhart styles. Can you, I know we measure M. Specifically on the Moldhart styles, there was a Oxnard Union High School school board meeting, which generated, I wrote a letter to the editor. It's been in the newspaper. When the Union High School District Superintendent, Dr. Tom McCoy, and the board says nothing while he makes these statements that the city of Oxnard took money from the district, caused the district to spend a lot of money that they were not legally entitled to spend. One of the issues that comes up, they were legally required to spend it, but the school district is not telling the public exactly what's going on because, in truth, they wanted to jump the gun. They were the first parties to take over the development. They were on the hook, legally on the hook to do it. But they're going to get 55% of the money they spent back from the Moldhart styles, I guess would be trust, when the rest of the property is developed. Does any of that ring a bell with any of our staff?
I'm familiar with some of that. Very well-written letter to the editor. I think it was accurate. There was a bond that indicated the amounts of the off-site improvements. The Del Sol High School was the master developer of that entire 100-acre parcel by subdividing it. We made that very clear to them very early in the process. We approved plans showing all those off-site improvements, and they signed those improvements, which clarified the maximum dollar amount for the public improvement bonds. So there was not a bill, an invoice. This is just the impacts that project put on our infrastructure that any other developer would have had to have made those same improvements. I'm aware of some reimbursement agreement between the Mulhart Styles project and the high school. I don't know the details, but I think you're in the ballpark.
Okay, thank you. And the reason I bring that up, my fellow council members, there's another item with the Rio School District. And the Rio School District, facts matter. And the city of Oxnard looks out for the city of Oxnard. We're fortunate to have school districts in our city limits and some outside of our city limits. We work with them. But we are not the whipping post for school districts that can't run their operations to the best of their ability. That's my editorial comment on this. And thank you, Mr. Bengal.
Thank you. Councilmember Sargent, wish to make a comment? Go ahead.
I do have a request. I did notice in here under the inclusionary housing ordinance update section that we are seeking an opinion from the State of California Attorney General on how local inclusionary units may be calculated in projects that are also seeking to utilize state density bonus as a means to secure additional density for a residential development project. And I guess we're still waiting for that opinion. I was wondering if it would be possible for us council members to see a copy of that request, because I'm very curious how that looks. I assume that's a public document. And secondly, since we're using this to help develop the ordinance, the inclusionary ordinance, it'd be helpful if we could see, maybe we can't at this time, but it'd be helpful if we could see whatever that latest draft is of that, and I'm sure it'll be subject to change, but kind of like to know where we're heading with that. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor and council members. Kathleen Mallory, Planning and Sustainability Manager. So we are waiting still for that letter from the AG's office. We intend to bring forward the update to the inclusionary ordinance to committee and then council towards the spring and summer this year.
Thank you, Kathleen.
And would we be able to see a copy of the request?
Yes, I just don't have it in my pocket.
No, I'm
Yes.
fine. I just want to know if it doesn't have to be instantly. So I do have a question on the accessory dwelling units. So I do hear stories that it takes a long time to get an ADU permit. I've heard of cases where it's taking more than a year. I am a little encouraged. I'm a little encouraged that it looks like you've changed the process a little bit, streamlined a little bit, so that the planning is no longer required separate. Planning no longer requires a separate planning and application and entitlement. But I am still concerned about the length of time that this is taking. So I'm wondering what is it that we are doing to accelerate that?
Thank you, Councilmember Starr. So there's several factors in the length of time, and I'll just give a quick explanation. I'll answer your question. The quality of the plans and how many times they have to go back and forth to make them code compliant, the length of our review time, which is what we're focused on. And then there's project-specific things that sometimes cause a delay on the developer's side. We have one resident who has submitted an ADU and has not particularly followed up on it with his draftsman. And it's been going on for over 500 days. And the project has not been with the city during that time. We completed our review, gave the comments back. And sometimes that happens for certain projects because they're trying to get financing. They've gotten some preliminary bids and they're higher than they expected and they're pulling funds together. There could be any number of reasons. So the total time frame in our process we can't control because of those factors. What we're trying to control is our turnaround times. So the state, last time summer of last year, we provided a response to the Ventura County Grand Jury report. Mm-hmm. And we clarified that some of the HCD data that they were using the data incorrectly to make some conclusions. And we rebutted that. But one thing was on ADUs, our turnaround time, the total time in our possession should not exceed 60 days. At that time last summer, we were around 80 days on average. When we first jumped out of the gates, we were a little too long. We're working on that very diligently. At the start of this year, and a little bit in a draft version last year, we started a residential assistance program similar to our small business or business assistance program, where we meet with the draftsmen, and it's primarily accessory dwelling units that this is geared towards, and our plan checkers review them on demand by appointment in a 1-hour meeting. So there's no wait time in plan check. They give them immediate feedback. They screen the plans first to make sure they're complete, and it's a very efficient process. So we're looking at expanding that with either internal staff. We talked to one of our plan check consultants about them participating virtually to give us more horsepower to do that. So we have been addressing it in that way.
Okay. And I guess as a council member, I kind of struggle with this because it's hard for me to tell where we can improve upon ourselves as a city to provide better service, and where it's simply the public not following the rules and we need to guide them. What would really help me, I think, is if I had a way of measuring how long it takes to do an ADU, let's say in Oxnard versus, let's say, Camarillo or Thousand Oaks. If I saw figures where, it's taking them just about as long as us, okay, well, it's just kind of the nature of the beast. But if I were to see that, say, Camarillo, and I'm not saying that this is the case, but if Camarillo had an average shorter time for approvals, it would be something where I'd say, okay, it's worth, going down a few more levels and figuring out what's going on. Is there any possibility that we could at least create a report of our own on the range of times and average times for approval, and maybe even a report that lists the building permit applications that are received that are still pending with their dates of submission, so I can get the idea of, all right, I've got some of these that are 5 years old, or maybe they've been abandoned, I don't know. But is there any way we could create a report like that, and maybe we can take a sister city and ask them if they can also create a similar report, so at least we can compare maybe best practices and see what we can do better?
I can't speak to what other cities can and will be able to do. We have, with the implementation that we're under right now, we're in the final 3 to 6 months of our new computer software implementation. One of the features of that software that we're anxious to get our hands on is the ability to generate user-friendly reports. In other words, there's reports that we can have programmed in, and there's very easy queries that can be set up by any user to filter results like a modern software does. Currently, we do a lot of that manually by extracting data out of our very old system. It would be a manual effort to generate that report. I would just add, I can tell you right now, Camarillo's got better turnaround times. They have 100%, their workload, their staff to workload ratio is different than ours. And I would say, I don't want to always, our staff works very, very hard, and we crank out a lot of work for the number of staff we have. I would just factor that into the analysis.
And we might be understaffed, absolutely. That's certainly a possibility. I just, like I said, I don't have really a way to measure and compare us versus other cities. I do thank you for basically forwardly stating that Camarillo is faster. It may be because of staffing levels. By the way, you did mention that the grand jury report that the city was able to rebut that, and I would love to be able to read that rebuttal because I'd like to see the whole picture. Because right now, what's public out there is the grand jury report, which is a little critical of us. But if there's some extenuating circumstances that says, you know what, they didn't get it right, I'd like to be able to read that too.
I can forward that to you. I believe it was the July 31st, 2024 council meeting, and I've got it literally on my desk. I can shoot you a copy.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. McGilly. Mayor Pro Tem, you had a question or comment?
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to, I know I stated earlier that I was not great at math, which I'm great at spreadsheets and I'm great at formulas, but I'm also someone who has had to work in education around data. And there's a reason that you don't compare one student to another student, and very important reasons for that. But even just broadening that, when you compare two cities, there's very rarely going to be an apples-to-apples comparison unless you get down to some very, very specific data points. And I mean, Mr. Pengilly, already spoke to where my mind would have gone with that was what's their workload, what's their capacity, how many, what is the volume of applications coming in versus the amount of staffing they have, and their ability to turn that around within a certain time frame versus the city of Oxnard's. So, apples to apples between any two cities is going to be very difficult, let alone a city that's half the age of this city with a fraction of the size of the population. That being said, I was going to share also that that came to council for review for the response to the grand jury report, and so it is already a public document. It was at a city council meeting, is located within that agenda packet, and I'll keep an eye on my emails to see if Moving Oxnard Forward sends that response to everybody. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Go ahead, Councilman Perlow.
Yeah, Mr. Bingley, I think probably since we've got 4 brand-new people on the council, I think it'd be good to send the thing to all 4. Might as well send it to all 7. Some of us may have misplaced it. But I would like to make a point. You stated that the turnaround time, your turnaround time, you're working to get it as quick as possible. That may not be a quote, but you're improving that. But the residents that bring stuff, the architects, the developers, the people that are trying to get things done, they don't respond. Maybe an assistance to Mr. Starr